Hey guys, in today's video we will continue to see the story titled The Return of the God of Destruction, Big Mun. This story will be about a god of destruction that was brought to life, but he didn't belong to any of the current 12 universes, but one of the 6 that had been destroyed by Zeno-sama thousands of years ago. We will see how this god of destruction will behave now thousands of years after his death and what his goal will be now that he has returned. Will this god of destruction be a new ally for Goku or a new enemy for him and his friends? Well, follow along to find out. So grab a bucket of popcorn and your soda and come with me, and of course don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and comment what you think of this story. Well, without further ado, let's get started following this incredible story. Currently in the 6th universe, it was possible to see Big Mun using his cloning ability, which he was using to transform into Vermoth and go straight to the place where the Super Dragon Ball was located in the 6th universe. It didn't take long for the god of destruction Big Mun to arrive at the place where the last Super Dragon Ball was, but when he got there, the fake Vermoth ended up taking a fright when he saw that the Super Dragon Ball was not unprotected, but protected by the most strongest warriors of the 6th universe. This fake Vermoth thought, okay, I wasn't expecting this. I thought this sphere would be unprotected, but in reality it's being protected by a group of warriors, and some of them even have interesting power levels. Big Mun thought as he reached the Super Dragon Ball and saw that there were several warriors in the place with interesting power levels in the opinion of the God of Destruction. Kaba spoke. "Mr. Vermoth, what are you doing here? I thought you were protecting the other Super Dragon Balls," asked the confused Saiyan while looking at the fake Vermoth. The false Vermoth spoke. "I am protecting the Super Dragon Ball in reality. My angel Margarita, she discovered the technique that Big Mun had used to make the Super Dragon Ball spears become smaller. She taught me how to use this power. I can make these 2 spears smaller and leave with them, so Big Mun doesn't have a chance of stealing these. They'll be with me, and that way he will not be able to fulfill his wish, whatever his wish is," explained the fake Vermoth while removing the Super Dragon Ball from his pocket and showing it to everyone that was present. Kaba spoke. "That makes sense. If a god of destruction with great power like you is protecting the Super Dragon Balls, they will be safe," said the Saiyan while looking at the fake Vermoth without suspecting anything. The false Vermoth said, "Right, so you can get out of my way and let me shrink and keep this Super Dragon Ball," said the God of Destruction, soon going closer to the Super Dragon Ball. Only when the God of Destruction got close to the Super Spear, he had to dodge a blow, which was done by Hit. But the God of Destruction managed to dodge it, and moving away from the Super Dragon Spear. Caulifla said, "Hey Hit, what did you do that for? He's the 11th universe's God of Destruction, so why in the hell would you do that?" Caulifla asked while looking at the most feared assassin in the 6th universe. Hit said, "Sorry, but this one is not the real God of Destruction of the 11th universe. This guy is a fake. And I bet he must be the God of Destruction that ended up beating Champa and almost killing him," he said while looking at Vermoth. Kale said, "What do you mean? He is Vermoth, the God of Destruction of the 11th universe, and not Big Mun that all the gods of destruction are looking for," said the Saiyan while looking at the killer. Hit said, "I'm a trained assassin, and I've killed many people over the years, and during that time I ended up finding people with the ability to change appearances. So I ended up creating a skill that helped me identify my targets, and I remember it perfectly, the energy that Vermoth has, and that guy there in front of us is not Vermoth," said the assassin, putting himself in a combat posture while looking at the God of Destruction, who soon began to laugh out loud. The false Vermoth spoke. "Seriously, man, I never thought I would end up meeting someone who would be able to discover my transformation ability," said the God of Destruction, Big Mun, soon making his body glow and his original appearance return to normal. Big Mun said, "Now that I'm in my original form, I'm going to finish you off, and I'm going to get the Super Dragon Ball before the original Vermoth comes back and tries to kill me. After all, I'm not strong enough to kill him, at least not yet," Big Mun said while looking at the warriors of that place, who put themselves in combat posture. Hit said, "Don't let him get close to the Super Dragon Ball, and fight with all your might right from the start," said the killer to his group, as soon everyone started releasing large amounts of energy, and all the Saiyans present transformed to their strongest forms. Soon, all together they advanced against the God of Destruction. Big Mun used his clothes to create some clones of himself, that soon advanced against the warriors in that place. Big Mun lunged at Hit as he appeared to be the strongest and most experienced of the group. Big Mun and Hit, When they were close to each other, they started a melee battle, where Big Mun was taking the advantage, and soon the God of Destruction managed to give a sequence of blows to the assassin that, even using the temporal jump, could not overcome the speed of the God of Destruction that landed powerful blows on the Hit's assassin's body. Hit used his time jump repeatedly and tried to hit several blows on the God of Destruction, and Big Mun used his body clots to defend himself from the assassin's attacks. And some of his blows were repelled, making the assassin receive his own blow, only with twice the strength. Big Mun soon used his speed and used his cloth to hold one of Hit's arms, and using his strength he turned Hit's body and threw the killer away. And then the God of Destruction began to hit several blows around of the killer, who couldn't dodge the blows. Then he tied Hit with his cloth, and then he did the same thing with all the other warriors, and united them with his cloth. Big Mun spoke. "You were fun, but you're not strong enough to defeat me," said the God of Destruction as he looked at the warriors who were trapped in their body cloths. Big Mun said, "I will let you live, but I want you to tell Champa and the other gods of destruction that I let you live to tell the gods that I will hunt each one of them, and the angels will also be mine. So tell them to be afraid, because I'm going to kill every one of them. Now for Champa, I want you to say that I'm going to kill him, and this time I won't be as merciful as before," said the God of Destruction, Big Mun, with a big smile on his face. Soon Big Mun, using one of his hands, created a large sphere of Hakai, but it was not with the energy of destruction, but only made with crushed energy, and that way the warriors could stay alive with that last attack by Big Mun. Big Mun spoke, "I ask all of you not to die," said the God of Destruction, soon throwing the spear of Hakai at the warriors, who screamed in pain when they felt the attack of the God of Destruction. Amunet spoke, "It seems that the battle is over, Master. Even though I thought you would have done it faster normally," spoke the angel, soon leaving his staff and assuming a physical form. Big Mun said, "I would normally have defeated them with one attack, or would prolong the fight. But I remember that I'm not currently at my full power, so I managed to have some fun," said the God of Destruction while scratching the back of his neck, and looked at his angel, who just gave a smile. Amunet spoke, "It's good to know that you know your current situation of weakness, but that will change soon after we gather all 7 Dragon Balls and make the wish to Super Shenron. And with that, his original power will return. And in the future, we will be able to bring back the 13 universe back to life, and you could return to live in it," said the angel, remembering her old universe, where she ruled with Big Mun. Big Mun said, "I also miss our universe a little bit, but don't worry. When all this is over, we'll go back to live in the 13th universe, and everything will go back to how it was thousands of years ago," spoke the God of Destruction while looking at his angel. Big Mun said, "But for that, I have to recover my true strength, and using it, I will defeat all the gods and angels that get in my way. Amunet, make this Super Dragon Spear get smaller, and after that we'll get out of here soon. I feel that they must have already discovered what I've done, and that I deceived Champa and Vermoth," said the God of Destruction while looking at his angel, who agreed. Amunet said, "Yes, sir. I'll make it quick so we can get out of here and go to the last Super Dragon Ball," said the angel excitedly, and soon she started using her technique to make the Super Dragon Ball smaller and fit in her hand. Big Mun said, "Great. Now let's go. We still have to get one more Super Dragon Ball, and with it my wish will be fulfilled, and I can return to my glory days as the strongest God of Destruction," said the God of Destruction while looking at his angel, who had one of the Super Dragon Balls in her hand. Amunet said, "Master, it's better we go, or if we don't have unwanted or inconvenient guests." He spoke to the angel, soon creating a portal, that soon the God of Destruction with the angel entered, and then the portal closed, in the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely on the planet where Big Mun had made a temporary base of operations, it was possible to see the ancient God of Destruction of the 13th universe, along with his angel Amunet. Both were observing the Super Dragon Spheres they had at that moment. Big Mun said, "We have 6 of the 7 Super Dragon Spheres. Now only one of them is missing, which is located in the 7th universe. This sphere is being protected by 2 gods of destruction, Quitella, the God of Destruction of the 4th universe, and Beerus himself, the God of Destruction of the 7th universe," said the God of Destruction, Big Mun, while looking at the current Super Dragon Balls they had until that moment. Big Mun said, "There are 2 gods of destruction that are protecting this last Super Dragon Ball, and facing them will not be easy. And the worst part is the fact that Beerus is very powerful, and Quitella, I can't say if he is strong. After all, I never fought him, but thanks to the information you gave me, Amunet, I know that he is stronger than Champa, and just knowing that I get a little worried," Even Champa being a weak god of destruction, he's still a god of destruction, said the god of destruction Big Mun while scratching the back of his head, bothered by not knowing exactly Quaitilla's strength, and worried about the fact that he would have to face two gods of destruction in his quest for the 7th Super Dragon Ball. Amunet spoke. That is true. The strength you have now won't be able to defeat Beerus alone. Even more so now that he has the help of another god of destruction who must have at least a similar strength to him. Because as far as I know, Beerus is one of the strongest gods of destruction, if not the strongest among the gods of destruction of this time we are in, said the angel while looking at her master, who ended up laughing. Big Mun said, if Beerus is the strongest god of destruction of this era, it will be a shame, because in my time, the weakest of the gods of destruction would be able to go head-to-head with Beerus one-on-one. So Beerus would have the strength, the weakest among the gods of destruction in my time. And that's sad, knowing that the gods of destruction have become so weak like this, said the god of destruction while remembering the time when the gods of destruction were much stronger than the current ones. Amunet spoke. At that time, the gods of destruction competed to see who would be the strongest, not using physical strength, but the aura of destruction that reflected the strength of a god of destruction. And besides, at that time, the gods of destruction lived facing threats coming from other worlds, and this forced them to become stronger. That must be why the gods of destruction are so weak. They should increase the mortal level of their universes, said the angel while sighing, because, like her master, she thought how weak the current gods of destruction were compared to the old gods of destruction. Big Mun said, yes, I agree with you, but I still don't know how I'm going to get the last Super Dragon Ball. After all, they may not be as strong as the old gods of destruction, but I also don't have my old strength anymore, and I'm no longer the strongest god of destruction among the gods. So the big question is, how am I going to get that last Super Dragon Ball? Asked the god of destruction while looking at the other Super Dragon Balls. Amunet said, well, I have an idea. If the current god of destruction of the 4th universe is in the 7th universe, then the 4th universe is unprotected. So you could invade that universe, forcing Quaitilla to return to your universe. You could do something similar with Beerus, but instead of attacking his universe, you could invade the realm of the Supreme Lord Kaio and threaten him, causing Beerus to leave close to the Super Dragon Ball, said the angel, talking to Big Mun about her idea about how they would get the last Super Dragon Ball. But this idea was not liked by the god of destruction very much. Big Mun said, Amunet, you know me like no one else, and you know that I always liked a good fight, and I always hated the easy ways of life. Killing the Supreme Kai would be the same as killing Beerus, without even having to face him, and that's not something I want to do. If I kill him, it'll have to be in a glorious combat, which will make the entire universe collapse, and not killing the Supreme Kaio, Lord of Beerus, said the god of destruction, with great seriousness in his tone of voice. Amunet said, I know that, Master, and because of that I suggested that you use the Supreme Kai as a hostage, and in the meantime, I could go get the Super Dragon Balls, and that way we could get the Super Dragon Balls without a battle itself, said the angel explaining her plan to get the Super Dragon Balls. Big Mun spoke. Now yes, it's a plan. I agree with it. It's time to create a small army to invade the 4th universe, said the god of destruction Big Mun, concentrating and releasing his power around that place, and soon an army made of the elements of that place together with its energy of destruction was formed. Big Mun said, Amunet, send these guys to the 4th universe, and send me to the planet of Lord Kaio of the 7th universe. It's time to get that last Super Dragon Sphere. With that, I will have my wish fulfilled, and so I will return to be the strongest god of destruction, said the god of destruction while looking at his angel. Amunet spoke. Yes, sir, master, said the angel, creating several portals for the soldiers newly created by Big Mun to enter. Big Mun said, Amunet, now create a portal for me to take me to the planet of Lord Kaio of the 7th universe. And by the way, when I enter the portal, I want you to go to where the Super Dragon Ball is and be ready, because when both gods of destruction leave the place, you take the Super Dragon Ball, and then you create a portal so that I can leave Universe 7, said the god of destruction while looking at his angel. Amunet spoke. Yes, sir, spoke the angel, creating a portal for the god of destruction that soon entered, and after a moment, the portal closed. Now in the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely on the planet of Lord Kaio, it was possible to see the Supreme Lord Kaio of the 7th universe sitting down drinking some tea. But soon Kaio was surprised when he felt a large amount of energy of destruction coming from his back. It scared him. Big Mun said, So you are the Supreme Kai of the 7th universe, and the one who is connected to the life of Beerus, the god of destruction of this universe, right? Asked the god of destruction in a sarcastic way while looking at the Supreme Kai. Supreme Kai said, "Who are you? What did you come here for?" said the Supreme Lord Kaio while looking at the god of destruction. Big Mun said, "Who am I? I am the ancient god of destruction of the 13th universe, and I came here to kill Beerus. As I know your life is tied to his, I will kill you unless you call him now. Otherwise I will have to kill you. And that will be faster than I would like," said the god of destruction with a psychotic smile on his face. The Supreme Kai thought, "Big Mun, this guy is still alive, but damn it," thought the Supreme Kai, frightened by the presence of the ancient god of destruction that had returned from the dead and was now causing chaos among the gods of destruction. It didn't take long for the Supreme Kai to urgently call Beerus to his universe, and after a few minutes, Beerus and Whis appeared at a pillar of energy on Supreme Kai's planet, and when they got there, Whis and Beerus could see Big Mun holding the back of Supreme Kai's neck. In Big Mun's hand was a certain amount of destruction energy, ready to kill the Supreme Kai at any moment. Big Mun said, well, if it isn't the great Beerus, the god of destruction of the 7th universe. How has your life been up to this point, my dear fellow god of destruction? Asked the god of destruction Big Mun in an ironic tone that looked at Beerus, who was furious with him. Beerus said, "Until this moment she's fine. Different from my brother's life, that you almost killed recently," said the god of destruction looking at Big Mun, who ended up being surprised. Big Mun said, "So that fat man was really his brother? When I looked at him I noticed the resemblance, but I ended up putting it aside when I saw how weak he was. The strength that his brother possesses is too ridiculous for him to be called a god of destruction," said the god of destruction while he looked at Beerus, who was irritated. Big Mun said, "One false step and I'll kill your Supreme Kai, and I'll kill you in the process, alright?" said the god of destruction looking at Beerus. Beerus said, "You're not going to do that. Whis did some research on you and we found out that you hated winning fights the easy way. You always stuck for a good fight, so I know you're not going to kill Kaio," said the god of destruction with a serious face to Big Mun, who ended up smiling broadly. Big Mun said, "Congratulations, you studied a little about me, but you forgot that I'm not only a good fighter, I'm also a good deceiver. In fact, I hope that Quitella manages to get to his universe quickly. If not, he will be destroyed by my servants," said the god of destruction with a smile on his face, something that made Whis and Beerus shocked. At the same time, Whis used his staff to communicate with the angel responsible for the 4th universe. Beerus said, "Hey Whis, what's going on with the 4th universe?" said the god of destruction without understanding anything at the moment. Whis said, "The 4th universe is being attacked by creatures made of sand, water, and wood. These creatures have the energy of destruction, the same as Big Mun has," said the angel looking at Big Mun, who was smiling. Big Mun said, "This conversation is very good, but it's time for me to leave. And by the way, Beerus, in our next meeting, I guarantee you that you will be defeated or killed, in the worst case scenario. So until our next meeting, my dear," said the god of destruction, entering a portal that appeared on his back. On Universe 7, the Supreme Kai's planet. Currently on King Kai's planet, it was possible to see Beerus furious with the words Big Mun after the sudden visit to Universe 7. Beerus said, "Whis, the Super Dragon Ball that Quitella and I were protecting, is with Big Mun now, isn't it?" asked the god of destruction to his angel, even though he was almost sure that Big Mun had taken the Super Dragon Ball that he and Quitella were protecting. Whis said, "Unfortunately, yes, Mr. Beerus. We are all deceived by Big Mun. While you were here, Quitella was forced to return to his universe so that he would not be destroyed. And with that, the Super Dragon Ball ended up being unprotected, and with the Amunet, the angel of Big Mun, who stole the last Dragon Ball, Big Mun had made a very smart plan. While he was talking to you, Amunet was there alone stealing the last Dragon Ball spear." "What the hell?" spoke the angel, Whis, while he made a hologram with his staff and showed everything that had happened with the Super Dragon Spear. Beerus said, "Damn," shouted the god of destruction, releasing some of his energy of destruction around the place, causing some cracks to appear on the ground, something that scared the Supreme Kai. The Supreme Kai said, "There's no need to stay that way, Mr. Beerus. He may have taken the last Super Dragon Ball from the 7th universe, but he still doesn't have the one that's in the 6th universe. You can go there and help your brother protect him, and so Big Mun won't be able to complete his goal," said the Supreme Kai of the 7th universe to the other god of destruction, who paid close attention to his words. Beerus said, "It's true. I can go to the 6th universe and protect the last Super Dragon Ball, said the God of Destruction with one hand on his chin, as he looked at the Supreme Kai and then looked at his angel. Whis said, "That's true, Mr. Beerus, but when you go to the 6th universe, the 7th universe will be without protection. After all, Big Mun could do the same thing he did to the 4th universe, forcing you to return to protect your universe," said the angel while looking at the God of Destruction. Beerus said, "That's not really a problem. I know that Big Mun could create the army using his skills and attack the 7th universe, and because of that, you're going to send Goku and the rest of his friends to prepare for a possible war. And not only Goku, but also Broly, Frieza, and even that granola guy will help us now. Warn them all and say that if they don't fight, the whole universe will be destroyed. And that way even that shit Frieza will die if he stays still," said the God of Destruction while looking at his angel Whis, while clenching his fists. The Supreme Kai said, "This is a good idea. After all, some of these warriors can reach the power level of a God of Destruction, and even though I don't like Frieza, he will be useful to keep the universe safe. This time," said the Supreme Kai while looking at Beerus and Whis. Beerus said, "I don't like Frieza, and I don't trust Broly and that granola guy, but they are the strongest, and to face beings that have the power of a God of Destruction, I'll have to trust them a little," said the God of Destruction while looking up to the Supreme Kai of his universe. Supreme Kai said, "Well, it's better to join forces with Frieza than have the universe destroyed. And that's for sure," said the Supreme Kai while looking at the God of Destruction. Whis said, "I think it will be no longer necessary to go to the 6th universe, Mr. Beerus," said the angel to the God of Destruction while looking at his staff and seeing that his sister Vados had sent him a message. The Supreme Kaio said, "What do you mean by that, Mr. Whis? Have other gods of destruction already gone to the 6th universe to protect the Super Dragon Balls?" asked the Supreme Kai while looking confused at the angel. Whis said, "Quite the contrary. In reality, it will not take any god of destruction to protect the Super Dragon Ball that is in the 6th universe," said the angel in a serious tone while looking at the God of Destruction and the Supreme Lord Kaio, who were confused by that. Beerus said, "Enough of so much suspense, Whis. Will you tell us what's going on and be as brief as possible?" spoke the God of Destruction, already irritated by the suspense that his angel was bringing. Whis said, "The Super Dragon Balls that were in the 6th universe cannot be protected because they are no longer in the 6th universe," said the angel while looking at the God of Destruction, and the Supreme Kai, who ended up widening his eyes. The Supreme Kai said, "So if the Super Dragon Balls are no longer in the 6th universe, that means that they are with Big Mun. And if he already has all the Super Dragon Balls that were in the 6th universe, and now he has this one, that he has to steal from us almost now, so that means," said the Supreme Kai, being interrupted by the God of Destruction. Beerus said this means he finally managed to get all 7 Super Dragon Balls, and with that he will be able to make the wish. Beerus said in an angry tone while thinking about what Big Mun would wish for, the Super Dragon Balls. Supreme Kai spoke. "So Big Mun can wish Super Shenron the death of all the gods of destruction or something worse than that?" said the Supreme Kai in an already weaker tone in his voice, as if he had already accepted his destiny. Beerus said no, he will not wish for the death of any being. He is too proud. He will wish for the death of no one. He will wish for something that makes him stronger to be able to defeat and kill us all. So in that matter, we don't need to worry. But I still don't know what his wish would be, so we must find a way to prevent his wish." Beerus spoke, returning to his serious and not furious expression from seconds ago. Beerus said, "Whis, tell me that you can track the location where the Super Dragon Balls are located. If you don't get it, we're very screwed. After all, that guy is very unpredictable," said the God of Destruction, while looking at Whis, his angel, who just sighed. Whis said, "Unfortunately, no, Mr. Beerus. I already tried to track the Super Dragon Balls that Big Mun had before, but I couldn't. I think Aminet must have found a way to hide the energy of the Super Dragon Balls," said the angel while looking at the God of Destruction, who ended up punching a tree near him, knocking it down in the process. Beerus said, "Damn. Whis, send word to all the gods of destruction that Big Mun now has all the Super Dragon Balls. So tell every one of them to get ready, because we don't know what he's going to want. But I know none of us are going to like this one bit." Whis said, "Yes, sir," said the angel, soon sending a warning message to all the angels of the other 12 universes. Now at Big Mun's base. Currently on the planet where Big Mun had stolen to be his base, it was possible to see the God of Destruction was now looking at all the Super Dragon Balls that he had, which were now all 7. Big Mun said, "Now that I have all 7 Super Dragon Balls, and with that I can make my wish, but there is one thing I need to do before invoking the dragon," said the god of destruction while looking at his angel, who thought for a while before answering his master. Amunet said, "No, master. Now we need to invoke the Super Shenron. Actually, let me invoke him, because you were never very good at speaking in the language of the gods." Big Mun said, "You're right. Let's do this soon," said the god of destruction, giving the Super Dragon Balls to his angel. After receiving the Super Dragon Balls, Amunet started to float, and then she started speaking in the language of the gods to summon Super Shenron, and soon the Super Dragon Balls started to glow, and suddenly a big golden dragon came out of the Super Dragon Balls. The dragon, Super Shenron, who became much smaller than normal as they decreased the spheres, and with that Shenron was also decreased, but he was still the biggest dragon of them all. Big Mun said, "My wish is to have all my strength and abilities back. I want to regain all my strength and abilities that I had in my prime. And moreover, I want to have a much greater potential to evolve in the point to overcome the Daishinkan itself." Big Mun, while looking at Super Shenron. When Amunet heard her master's wish, she repeated to the Super Shenron in the language of the gods. And when she finally making the wish, a Super Shenron's red eyes shone more brightly, and soon after Big Mun ended up falling to the ground, while his energy from destruction grew at an absurd speed, and soon a big explosion ended up happening. And from the center, Big Mun emerged with all his original power. Big Mun spoke. "Finally, I finally got my power back," said the god of destruction with a wide smile on his face, as he released a large amount of destruction energy and didn't feel any pain. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely on planet Earth, it was possible to see Beerus and Whis in the Capsule Corporation, along with Goku and his friends, the Z Warriors. Besides them were there too Brawly, Frieza, and Granola. All these warriors had been called by Whis at the behest of Beerus, and besides the warriors there were some non-combatants like Bulma, Chi-Chi, and Chi-Lai. All those present were wanting to know why they had been called to that place, especially Frieza, who was getting irritated by the delay of Beerus and Whis, who until now had not said why they had been called. Frieza thought, "The delay is already making me angry. They brought me to this planet, and I can't even leave this planet because of Beerus. I can't leave, and they haven't said anything yet. It just makes me angrier. The worst thing is not even staying on this planet, but being in the presence of these damn Saiyans. And even this guy Granola and Brawly are here. It makes me want to know even why more I'm here," thought the Emperor as he looked around and saw some beings with powers at the same level as his or even superior, like Brawly, Granola, and even Gohan, who was talking to his wife and his mother, who was with his daughter Pan in her arms. Frieza thought, who knew that Son Gohan, that scared boy, who had been defeated easily in all our encounters, now has a power similar to mine, and the Saiyan Brawly and even Granola, who apparently seem to be stronger too. I wonder how strong Son Goku and Vegeta are now, asked the Emperor while looking at his two main enemies, Goku and Vegeta. Goku was talking to Vegeta and Bulma. Goku spoke. "I would like to know why we are gathered here. I was sleeping and suddenly Whis appeared and brought me here saying it was something urgent. But so far, they haven't said anything." "Hey Bulma, do you know something?" asked the Saiyan while looking at his childhood friend and wife of his Saiyan's rival. Bulma said, "Sorry Goku, but this time I don't know anything. Earlier today, Whis showed up asking if he could have a meeting with the strongest warriors of the 7th universe. So I thought it would be a new tournament of power, but Whis said it was something as important and dangerous as the tournament of power. Because of Whis' speech and the serious expression on her face, I realized that it was really something much more serious than the tournament of power," said the blue-haired human, looking at her Saiyan friend who started scratching the back of his head. Bulma said, "And you, why are you that way, Vegeta?" asked the woman to her husband, who had more serious expression than he usually had when he looked at Frieza, who was in the corner, leaning against the wall watching everyone in the place. Goku said, "Vegeta must be like that because of Frieza, who's there in the corner looking at all of us. From the moment Vegeta saw that Frieza was here, he was like he was waiting for Frieza to do something, for Vegeta to go after him and face him. Even though I wanted that too," said the Saiyan while looking at his rival, who didn't take his eyes off Frieza, who was watching everyone. And when he noticed Vegeta's gaze, Frieza ended up giving a smug smile that made Vegeta snap his tongue. Vegeta said, "Our difference, Kakarot, is that I'm watching Frieza waiting for him to act, and you just want to fight with Frieza, and I don't want to let that damn thing destroy the Capsule Corporation or kill someone," said the Prince of Saiyans while keeping his staring at Frieza, who just laughed at his face. This was irritating the Prince of Saiyans, who just didn't move against the Emperor because he didn't want to destroy or kill anyone who was at the place. Bulma said, "I'm still surprised when you talk in such a protective way. It doesn't even sound like the Prince of Saiyans who said that his heart was pure evil. But looking at it now, that heart isn't even at all. Just very arrogant and confident," said the woman from a fun way, looking at her husband and blushing a small smile. Vegeta said, "Don't get me wrong, Bulma. I'm only doing this because many people here are important to Trunks, and the Capsule Corporation is where we live. And I'm not going to let any idiot destroy my house, or touch someone who is important for my children. Or for you, Bulma," said the Prince of Saiyans, embarrassed, something that made Bulma giggle. Goku ended up doing something similar, only he ended up laughing louder. Goku said, "Vegeta is no longer that evil Saiyan of many years ago. He is no longer like that since the day we met Beerus." And Vegeta ended up facing Beerus, who hit Bulma with a slap. That made Vegeta furious and forced him to get stronger to land some blows on Beerus. Since that day, anyone who thought Vegeta was still evil stopped thinking that way and started thinking that Vegeta was an overprotective husband and a doting father, said the Saiyan, laughing at his rival Saiyan, who was getting redder and redder. But now Vegeta was also getting angry. Vegeta said, "Shut up, Kakarot. I don't want anyone talking about it, much less you. You idiot, who only thinks with his muscles," said the Prince of Saiyans in an irritated way while looking at his Saiyan rival. Everyone in the place talked and got together, but of course everyone was still wanting to know why they had been called by Whis and Beerus. Soon everyone would receive their answers because Whis and Beerus had finally finished having a conversation with the other angels and gods of destruction through the staff that Whis was holding in his hand. Whis said, "Sorry for the delay. I know that each of you must be wondering why you are here and why I called you so urgently," said the angel, attracting the attention of all those who were in the place. Beerus said, "I don't know if you know, but recently a being that should have been dead thousands of years ago ended up coming back to life. This being is a god of destruction from the time that existed 13 universes. This god of destruction wasn't so strong when he returned from the dead, but he got all the Super Dragon Balls, and with that this god of destruction will have a wish that we don't know what it is. What we do know is that this god of destruction called Big Mun came back to life, and that will be a very bad thing for all of us gods of destruction and mortals of all universes," said the god of destruction, looking at everyone present who was very scared with Beerus's words. Vegeta spoke. "And whose fault is it? Obviously Frieza, the idiot, who's in search of more power, went after a star that could fulfill a wish for him. And with that, Frieza ended up bringing Big Mun back to life. So congratulations, Frieza," said the Prince of Saiyans in a furious tone. After all, the fault of Big Mun's return really was Frieza's, but he wasn't caring much about that. Frieza spoke. "Not an idiot, you stinking monkey. It wasn't my fault that bastard used the star to come back from the dead. I just accidentally activated his wish. But I'm pretty sure I'm not obligated to continue in this place to hear that it's my fault that the god of destruction is back to life. So Beerus speaks soon because I have some other planets to conquer," said the Emperor while looking at the god of destruction, who just sighed before continuing to speak. Beerus spoke. "The reason we called all of you here is because Big Mun is a being of great power. And with the wish he makes, Big Mun will probably be even more powerful, and he already has proven that he is even doing nothing. He could destroy one universe with the help of an army of beings with the energy of destruction created by Big Mun himself. And as we don't know what his wish will be, we came here to tell all of you that we are all in danger. So get ready, because at any moment, a war can happen. And if that happens, you need to destroy all the enemies. And if you find Big Mun, do not face him, because he is very powerful. Unless you're in a group of at least 2 people, only then you could try. If you are alone, leave the place quickly, because Big Mun defeated my twin brother Champa easily. So don't fight Big Mun unless you want to die," said the god of destruction, giving the great news to everyone who was there and lived at that location. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe of the planet that had become Big Mun's base of operations, who was currently facing some of his elemental soldiers who were fused with his Hawkeye energy, Big Mun was doing this to teach his soldiers how combat worked and also to help it adapt to his former monstrous strength that had returned with the help of Super Shenron. Big Mun was more used to his old powers. He was much stronger, and even Big Mun faced 100 of his soldiers. He managed to dodge all the blows of his soldiers, and then Big Mun advanced at high speed, hitting a precise blow on vital parts of those beings, destroying them with just one blow, causing the 100 soldiers to be killed. The soldiers ended up exploding in their respective elements, and the rest of the energy of destruction that was inside the soldiers ended up making a small explosion that destroyed everything that was close to them in a radius of 10 meters. Amunet spoke. Looks like the old Big Mun is coming back, but that's not his full power yet, isn't it, Master? If I remember correctly, you managed to defeat 1,000 of these soldiers in mere seconds, and did not receive any attacks. It took you a few minutes to defeat 100 soldiers, and you still ended up receiving some blows at the beginning of the combat. Well, you're still not completely adept to your old strength. So when you are already adapted to your powers again, you'll be able to defeat even 10,000 of these soldiers in a matter of seconds, said the angel while looking at her master, God of Destruction, who was a little sweaty because Big Mun had been fighting his soldiers for some time, and he was starting to get tired. Big Mun spoke. I know that, Amunet. I thought once I got my powers back using the Super Dragon Balls, I would be able to use my full power again, and even my true God of Destruction form, but I didn't think my body would need to adapt to that force, and that's annoying. I already know how to adapt my body quickly with all that power. Amunet, get ready, because we are going after the Super Dragon Balls, so that I can make another wish, and that way I will wish that my body adapts to my full power, and after that I will start my revenge, said the God of Destruction with a wide smile on his face, thinking that his plan was perfect, and it could even be since they could get the Super Dragon Balls again quickly. Amunet said, Your plan is good, Master, but unfortunately, it will not be possible to do that because the Super Dragon Balls were used a long time ago, and they take some time to be used again. About 1 mortal year for the Super Dragon Balls to be able to be used again. So even if we get all the Super Dragon Balls, they will be useless until you are willing to wait 1 year to use them again. After all, you've waited thousands of years to come back to life. 1 year must pass quickly, said the angel looking at her master, who ended up getting upset for not being able to use the Super Dragon Spears to speed up the adaptation of his body to his old powers of God of Destruction. Big Mun said, Not at all. I will not be waiting 1 year to start my revenge against the gods of destruction and the angels. I will train and make my body adapt to my old power, and when I'm already adapted to at least 50% of my original power, I will start hunting the gods of destruction and the angels, and then I will go after the Daishinkan, and soon after, I will do all this. I will wait to be able to use the Super Dragon Balls again, and I already know my next request. I will wish that the 13th universe comes back to life, and also all the other universes that were erased, and those other 12 current ones, either I destroy or divide among my former companions, gods of destruction. They were gods of destruction of respect, as much as they deserve to come back to life now. But now I will be their king. I will be the king of destruction, said the God of Destruction, revealing his future plans to his angel, who gave a big smile hearing that, after all, the King of Destruction was a nickname that the ancient gods of destruction gave Big Mun a long time ago, when he was at his true peak. Amunet said, It seems that you finally accepted this title of King of Destruction that your old friends, the gods of destruction, gave you a long time ago. It ended up making me a little nostalgic, and I'm very happy to know that you will bring back the erased universes of life. And they come back. I hope that when the universes do come back, my brothers and sisters come back together with their gods of destruction. I miss being able to talk to them during the fights you fought in the world of Limbo, and I still remember the delicious food that my brother Khan used to do, said the angel, remembering all the moments she had with those she really considered her brothers and sisters who were still sealed. Big Mun said, Do not worry, Amunet, because when I defeat everyone and complete my revenge, I guarantee you that I will free your brothers and sisters and bring my friends, the gods of destruction, and we will no longer need to worry about traitors like the current gods of destruction and their angels. But now it's time to go back to training, because the more I train, the more my body will adapt, and with that I will be able to go after the gods of destruction and kill them along with your angels, said the God of Destruction while looking at his angel. Then Big Mun returned to his training, but before that, he had his attention turned to his angel again when she called him. Amunet spoke. Master, are we going to let the universes prepare? Because now that we got all the Super Dragon Balls, they must already be thinking of multiple wishes that you can make. They must be preparing the strongest mortals of their respective universes to be able to face your soldiers. So what are you going to do, Master? Asked the angel, looking at her master, who took one of his hands to his chin and started to think about it. Big Mun said, You're right. The gods of destruction must already be preparing to face me, and they already know about my army, and must be preparing for a possible invasion of my army in their universes, said the God of Destruction while looking to the sky and thought about what he could do at that moment. Amunet said, I have a master idea. Why don't you create a large army and order them to invade each of the universes? In this way, mortals will have to face their soldiers, and this will start the destruction of all the universes. Then you'll only need to use the Super Dragon Balls or Dragon Balls that exist in the 7th universe to destroy the universes after the Lord has already dominated all the universes and defeated all who got in its way, said the angel while looking at her master, who thought very carefully about her angel's words, and then gave a wide smile. Big Mun said, A great idea, my dear Amunet. You weren't one of the smartest angels for nothing, said the god of destruction, looking at his angel, who was happy to be praised by his master. Big Mun said, That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a huge army, and I'll divide them into groups to send them to the universes, and that way the mortals will have a sample of my strength. And moreover, while the gods of destruction will be busy with my army, I'll be there training and adapting, and when I'm ready, I'll start hunting the gods of destruction, said the god of destruction with a big smile on his face as he looked at his angel. So Big Mun concentrated and started releasing his energy all over that place, and soon several elemental beings with the appearance of a humanoid dog were created. All these soldiers had a certain amount of energy of destruction inside their bodies. Big Mun said, My dear friends, I want all of you to spread chaos and fear in all the 12 universes. I also want you to destroy and kill anyone who tries to stop you. But if it is a god of destruction, I want you to retreat and do not face them, for I will be the one to kill the gods of destruction. Those are my orders. Now go and bring chaos and destruction to all universes, said the god of destruction while looking at all his newly created soldiers. Amunet created 12 portals, one for each universe, and soon Big Mun's soldiers entered the portals that soon closed, leaving only Big Mun and Amunet in place in the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely on the planet that had become Big Mun's base of operations, it was possible to see that the god of destruction was floating over the sea, while his aura of destruction was released by his body, creating a kind of barrier of the destruction that disintegrated everything that touched it. Big Mun was using that to be able to meditate and thus keep his power of destruction under his control so that it wouldn't affect his body when he was going to use that power in a real battle against any enemy, especially the gods of destruction and the angels that would be his greatest enemies in the near future. While Big Mun focused on his training to adapt his body to his ancient and gigantic power of destruction, it was possible to see Amunet on the beach sitting under a tent. Angel was using her staff to be able to see that the army that Big Mun had created using his power of destruction, and the angel was impressed with the efficiency of the army because not only were they able to destroy those that got in their way, but those who died at their hands became part of the army, and with that the army became even more numerous, and the larger the army, the greater the power of destruction, and the more the army destroyed, the more members entered the army. Amunet spoke. This is amazing. More and more the army of Mr. Big Mun was increasing, and with that the destruction as well. But I can't see that in some universes there are some interesting mortals, and mainly in the 6th, 7th, and 11th universes like this Son Goku, Vegeta, Broly, Jiren, Toppo, Dispo, Hito, Kale, Caulifla, and even Frieza, who awakened Mr. Big Mun and brought him back to life. Well, there are some universes that are really disappointing, and I don't say that because of mortals, but because of the god of destruction, like this Sidra from the 9th universe. Even though he is a god of destruction, Sidra is more disappointing than Champa, the god of destruction of the 6th universe. If this Champa wasn't so overweight, he would be a good opponent for Master Big Mun. The angel spoke with a touch of admiration in relation to the strength of some mortals, and disappointment because of some gods of destruction like Sidra and Champa. Amunet said, I already know what I'm gonna do. Master Big Mun wants to fight a god of destruction soon, but his body still hasn't adapted to his own power of destruction. So I'm going to analyze all 12 gods of destruction currently, and those who possess similar strength to Master Big Mun, I'm going to tell him to face this god of destruction. After all, in this way, the Big Mun Master will be able to have a little fun in addition to forcing his body to adapt faster, and thus he'll be able to get stronger and stronger while adapting to his power of destruction, said the angel, excited about the possibility of leaving his master. And he was happy because Big Mun was irritated by the fact that his body had not yet adapted to his power of destruction, and that was preventing Big Mun from fighting the gods of destruction and the angels. Amunet said,
Is that exactly what I'm going to do while the Master trains? I'm going to look for a god of destruction for the Master Big Mun to face, and with that he can have a little fun without having to risk the dying in process," said the angel with a determined tone, and then Amunet began to analyze each of the gods of destruction to search the one that Big Mun could face without running the risk of dying. Hours later, a few hours had passed, and with that it was possible to see that the aura of destruction that Big Mun was releasing was greater than a few hours ago, and that ended up generating a much bigger barrier of destruction, creating a kind of crater in the middle of the water. After a few more minutes, Big Mun came out of his meditation stage, opening his eyes and stopping to release his energy of destruction. Big Mun said, "Wow, I think I've been meditating for a few hours, but that alone has already made me feel stronger than before. It seems that Amunet is excited about something. Maybe she didn't notice that when one of my soldiers kills a mortal, that mortal ends up becoming one of my soldiers too. This will continue until the entire universe is destroyed, or until all the inhabitants of the universe are part of my army," said the god of destruction, flying to the place where Amunet was, who was very focused on analyzing the gods of destruction. Big Mun said, "Amunet, what are you doing? Do you happen to see that my soldiers are doing in all the universes?" asked the god of destruction to his angel, who was so focused that he didn't hear the god of destruction speaking. So Big Mun went close to his angel and saw what Amunet was seeing in his staff. Big Mun said, "Why are you seeing the gods of destruction? Are you creating a strategy to face them or something like that, Amunet?" asked the god of destruction while looking at what the angel was seeing. Amunet ended up taking a fright when hearing his master's voice so close to him. Amunet spoke, "What a fright, Master. No, Master. I'm not creating any kind of strategy for you to face the gods of destruction." The angel spoke with one of her hands on her heart, showing that she had been scared, but Big Mun knew that that was just Amunet's drama, that he used to do that. Big Mun said, "Dramatic as ever, Amunet, but if you're not planning any kind of strategy, then what are you doing?" asked the god of destruction to his angel, who recovered her posture before speaking. Amunet said, "I was thinking, sir, you're kind of irritated by the fact that you can't face the gods of destruction in your current state. So I've been here analyzing all the gods of destruction for hours to find a god of destruction that you can face in its current state. That's why I stayed here for hours, analyzing all the gods and their deeds so far. The god of destruction of the 6th universe, Champa, is very weak because of the way the Lord left him, and Beerus, the god of destruction of the 7th universe, was considered one of the strongest gods of destruction. So none of them will be able to fight with the Lord now, but there are still the other 10 gods left, and I did a survey to find out which one you can face in your current state." The angel spoke with an excited tone, while looking at her god of destruction, who had a wide smile on his face, made of pure satisfaction. Big Mun spoke, "Now that's news that's got me excited. Tell me, Amunet, who is the god of destruction that I will face in my current power? Tell me please, because I have to get ready to go get his universe to face him, and in this way hunt for the gods of destruction," said the god of destruction, euphoric to know that he had the power to face one of the 12 gods of destruction currently in that era. Amunet spoke, "With your current power, Master, I know that you can face the god of destruction of the 9th universe, Sidra. He's not as strong as the other gods of destruction, and even Frieza managed to resist his Hakai. So I would say to you, Master, that Sidra would be a good opponent, because even if he uses the true power of destruction the gods of destruction possess, I guarantee that you'll be able to defeat him using your current full power, without the need to use your true god of destruction form," said the angel excitedly while looking at her god of destruction, who was even more excited. Big Mun said, "Right, Amunet. I'm going to prepare myself to be able to face this Sidra guy. In the meantime, I want you to keep your eyes on the other gods of destruction, and start choosing the next god of destruction for me to destroy. In addition, I will create more soldiers, and I want you to send them to places where they haven't passed in the 9th universe, so that no one can stop me from facing the god of destruction of that universe. And send the soldiers that are there to cause the most damage possible. Order the soldiers to destroy everything because they will use the Super Dragon Balls to recover the universes," ordered the god of destruction with a big smile on his face. His angel was happy to know that a master was happy with his idea. Amunet spoke, "Yes, Master," said the angel, looking at her master, who created new soldiers, and soon the angel sent them to various locations of the 9th universe. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely on the base planet where Big Mun had taken as his base of operations while not returning to the 13th universe,
It was possible to see that Big Mun, at that moment, was doing a special training to be able to face the current god of destruction of the Ninth Universe called Sidra, since according to Amunet, Big Mun had a strength similar to that of Sidra, and with that the ancient god of destruction from the 13th universe could start his hunt for the gods of destruction of that generation. And when his body was completely adapted to his old power of destruction, Big Mun could defeat all the gods of destruction together. And with that power he could face the angels and probably defeat them. While Big Mun was doing his warm-up training before the final battle between him and Sidra, it was possible to see that Amunet was following his master's orders and was analyzing all the gods of destruction and finding out which one of them could be Big Mun's next opponent when he has defeated Sidra and has already recovered from the fight. After all, Big Mun wanted to get stronger and stronger to face the current gods of destruction, and since Amunet wanted to see his master happy, she was doing her best to find a good opponent for his master, and that this opponent was not so strong as to kill him. It didn't take long for Big Mun to stop training and go meet his angel, who was finishing analyzing all the gods of destruction. Amunet already had in mind who would be the next god of destruction that his master could face, without her having to worry about him or interfering in the battle to save her master, because one of the things her master hated the most was when someone meddled in his fights. It offended him, and Amunet wanted to avoid that. Big Mun said, "Amunet, I just finished my warm-up training for my battle against the god of destruction of the Ninth Universe, Sidra. Have you found the next god of destruction I can face yet? Or am I still too weak to face another god of destruction besides this Sidra and Champa? Well, I'm not going to face Champa now because he's too weak, so I'll wait for Champa to recover. So I go after him, so that will be the next god of destruction. What will feel the power of the strongest god of destruction from the past?" asked the god of destruction with a tone of arrogance and pride over his former title of strongest among the gods of destruction, while looking at his angel, who ended up giving a short laugh. Amunet spoke.
I'm happy to see that you are acting and speaking in the same way as you did in the past. It seems that with the return of your powers, his old personality is slowly returning. Answering your question, Master, yes. I already have one more god of destruction for you to face. In reality, Goddess of Destruction. She is the goddess of destruction of the second universe, and her name is Helis. The only one among the gods of destruction who is a woman, and who believes that the supreme power comes from the feeling of love, said the angel, already revealing who would be the next opponent that Big Mun would face. But when he heard that Big Mun was a little disappointed. Big Mun spoke. "Am I going to face a goddess of destruction who believes that the greatest power comes from the love that mortals talk about so much? This generation of gods of destruction is really disappointing. In our time, there was a goddess of destruction similar to this Helis, but she thought that true power came from anger, suffering, and sadness. I must agree with her. That woman was a monster of strength. I just hope that this goddess of destruction is at least stronger than this Sidra guy, because if she's weaker, this fight will be a real bore," said the god of destruction while remembering a woman similar to Helis, but much stronger than many of today's gods of destruction. Amunet spoke. I assure you that the two are strong enough to make you excited, Master. And if they are not, you will only need to think that this boredom is necessary for your body to adapt to its former power of destruction. When your body becomes adapted to your old power of destruction, you will be very strong and will be able to face opponents that I'm sure you will like to face, like, for example, the other angels or even the High Priest. If you manage to master the power of Ultra Instinct, it is clear. Speaking of which, we have to train you to be able to activate the power of Ultra Instinct whenever you want. But until then, you can go on facing the gods of destruction with the powers you already have, said the angel, looking at her master, god of destruction, who ended up agreeing with her regarding Ultra Instinct. Big Mun said, "I can use the power of Ultra Instinct in its incomplete form, but unfortunately I only managed to use that power 3 times in my life, and until today I don't know how to activate this power without being about to die. But let's put that matter aside. Now let's focus on my main goal, which is to defeat the god of destruction of the Ninth Universe, Sidra. Amunet, my dear, you could create a portal to the Ninth Universe and teleport Sidra to a distant location, and while that is happening, I would like you to distract his angel, so that he does not interfere with my combat," said the god of destruction while looking at his angel. Amunet said, "Okay, Master, I will teleport you to that planet made of ice that we saw thousands of years ago, and it is still in one piece, so it will be a good place for you to face the god of destruction of the Ninth Universe." And not to worry, because the angel who lives in the 9th universe never really liked serving the gods of destruction, so he won't move a muscle to save Sidra. But rest assured if he tries to stop him, said the angel, getting up and looking to his master, who was smiling at that moment. Big Mun said, "Great. Now that's how it is. Let's go to the 9th universe right now, because I'm very excited to face a god of destruction that gives me a little fun, like I haven't had in a while," said the god of destruction, very excited about the fact that he would fight against a strong god of destruction again. Aminet, obeying her master's orders, created a portal in front of Big Mun, and then the angel entered the portal that closed. Now in the 9th universe. Currently in the 9th universe, on a planet made completely of ice and snow, with several frozen mountains full of snow, it was possible to see a portal being formed where Big Mun left, and soon the portal closed. And it didn't take long for another portal to appear in that place, and who came out of it was Sidra, the god of destruction of the 9th universe, who was confused to be in that place. The god of destruction of the 9th universe was more surprised to see Big Mun sitting on a small relief made of ice with some snow pegs around. Big Mun said, well, I thought Champa was the only chubby one of the gods of destruction. But apparently there are more than one god of destruction who are overweight. I just hope you're not as skinny as Champa, because if you are, that's going to be a real bore," said the god of destruction, looking at Sidra, who was confused about the being in front of him. Sidra said, "Who are you? Why are you wearing that god of destruction outfit? And mainly because I'm here," said the god of destruction of the 9th universe, while looking at Big Mun, who ended up sighing. Big Mun said, "Who am I? Isn't it obvious, you idiot? I'm the former god of destruction from the 13th universe. My name is Big Mun, and being a god of destruction, of course, I would wear this outfit. And why you're here too isn't obvious, is it? You are here so I can kill you, and that way I can start hunting all the gods of destruction and kill them one by one, so that I can have my revenge," said the god of destruction as he stood up and started walking towards Sidra at a slow pace. Sidra said, "So you are Big Mun, who defeated Champa, almost killing him. What makes you think that I will be defeated by the likes of you? You think I'm like Champa? I can be considered fat, but I'm not as weak as Champa. And from what I know, you're not that strong," said the god of destruction of the 9th universe, looking arrogantly at Big Mun, who ended up laughing at that. Big Mun spoke. "Am I weak? I'll show you who's weak here," said the god of destruction, releasing his energy of destruction, causing the ice around to be destroyed, in addition to causing several cracks in the place, something that scared Sidra because he didn't know that Big Mun had so much power.
In the 9th universe. Currently in the 9th universe, more precisely on a planet far away from the solar system, which left this planet covered in ice and snow, it was possible to see that on that planet, a duel would take place between two gods of destruction, Sidra being the current god of destruction of the 9th universe, against Big Mun, who was the ancient god of destruction of the 13th universe, who had been killed centuries ago, but who was now alive and ready to take revenge on all those responsible for his death. And to show just how serious he was, Big Mun wanted to kill and defeat all the gods of destruction. But Big Mun had not yet killed any of the gods of destruction. Big Mun left Champa, the god of destruction of the 6th universe, almost on the verge of death, and just didn't kill him out of pure pity. Sidra made the big mistake of being arrogant with Big Mun, in addition to having underestimated the power of the ancient god of destruction, who was not releasing his power to not draw so much attention. But now that Sidra had provoked Big Mun, he decided to show his power by generating an aura so powerful that it made everything around tremble. Cracks appeared on all sides of the planet, and even the opposite side of the planet was feeling Big Mun's power, and that made Sidra feel afraid because Big Mun's strength was far superior to him. And just knowing that made Sidra want to flee the planet so he wouldn't have to face that monster that was in front of him. Sidra thought, "It was a mistake to underestimate Big Mun's strength. I knew he was about Champa in terms of strength, but I didn't think Big Mun was that strong. The other gods of destruction said that he was still weak and that he hadn't been able to recover his old powers. But Big Mun doesn't seem to be weak at all. He must not be at full power. But yet, it looks of it, Big Mun is weaker than Beerus, which is strange because, according to the angels, at the height of his power, Big Mun could destroy Beerus like a mere fly. And that's scary," thought the god of destruction as he looked scared at the ancient god of destruction, who was the strongest of his time, possibly would be one of the strongest today as well. Sidra said,
I may not be as strong as that bastard, but I can use one of my techniques to bend space and leave this planet at high speed, and not even Big Mun will be able to keep up with me," thought the god of destruction while concentrating. Sidra raised his power and flew at a very high speed to get away from Big Mun. But when Sidra was going to leave the planet, he ended up getting hit in his face with a kind of barrier that made Sidra be electrocuted and then fall straight to the ground. Sidra's fall generated a small crater, and when Big Mun saw that, he started to laugh. Big Mun spoke. "The gods of destruction that are currently in power are very different from the gods of destruction of my time. Those of my time were not cowards and ran away from fights. In fact, they would rather die in a fight than be humiliated by running away from your opponent. But apparently today's gods of destruction are not like that, and that's sad. I didn't want to kill a coward, but I have to, so I will kill you, my dear Ninth Universe God of Destruction. By the way, if you know any teleportation techniques, it's better not to use them because it's useless. My angel Aminet knows how to create barriers millions of times better than the other angels. After all, Aminet's barriers managed to withstand my attacks at my peak of power, and the barriers were not even scratched," said the god of destruction while looking at the barrier created by his angel. And at the same time that Big Mun was praising the barriers, his angel appeared at his side and smiled because of the praise. Aminet said, "I'm happy to know that I'm being useful to the Master, and you don't need to worry, Master, because all the power that you release inside the barrier will stay inside the barrier, and that way no god of destruction or angel will stop your fight. Now I'll stay further away so I can watch your fight against the god of destruction, Sidra. So have fun, Master," said the angel looking at her master and moving away from the two gods of destruction. And in doing so, Aminet hit his staff on the ground, generating a kind of throne of ice around it. There was a kind of blue and white barrier similar to ice. Big Mun said, "Now that we have an audience watching our fight, we can face each other, even though I think this won't be a fight, because everyone will see me beating a disgusting and cowardly worm that doesn't have a minimum of dignity to face his opponent from the front. You, Sidra, do not deserve to be a god of destruction," said the ancient god of destruction, preparing to kill Sidra. Sidra was irritated by the way he was being treated by a god of destruction who shouldn't even be alive anymore. Sidra knew he couldn't run away, so when the fight started, he would have to fight to kill. But Sidra knew one thing. Big Mun was a threat to all the other gods of destruction, and if Sidra killed Big Mun, he would become a hero to everyone. And thanks to that thirst for power and glory that Sidra possessed, he was no longer caring about Big Mun's power level, as his greed blinded him, and with that, his fear disappeared. Sidra, not afraid of Big Mun's power, raised his power and advanced against his opponent, who was surprised that Sidra made the first move. Sidra quickly approached Big Mun and tried to hit him with a punch, but the god of destruction from another time managed to dodge it with some ease, so Sindra's blow ended up hitting the ground, and this generated a tremor and a great destruction, making several blocks of ice go flying in all directions. Big Mun, seeing that, was interested because now Sidra was acting like a god of destruction, and that pleased Big Mun, who ended up giving a small smile with that. Big Mun quickly balanced and dodged again a blow from Sidra, who started to perform a rain of blows, with his fists imbued with the power of destruction. But Big Mun was dodging most of the attacks until a careless Big Mun ended up having his foot sunk into a crater in the ground, and taking advantage of that, Sidra hit a powerful punch in the stomach of Big Mun that made him fly away. But Sidra didn't stop there. He activated a kind of instantaneous mode, where Sidra began to teleport, and with this, he hit several blows on Big Mun. And finally, Sidra hit a powerful punch from top to bottom on Big Mun's stomach. That made him go against the ground and fall. The ancient god of destruction created a large crater that was open on the spot. Sidra, seeing that his blows were hitting Big Mun, he got excited. And with that, Sidra advanced again against his enemy in search of finishing him at once, with a final punch in the chest of Big Mun. Sidra went towards Big Mun, and due to its speed, everything around it was being destroyed. And what was left in the place was only the throne of Aminet, that was only whole because it was protected by the barrier created by the angel. Big Mun said, "Look, I must say that your blows hurt, and you managed to make me bleed. But I'm already tired of receiving or dodging the blows.
So it's time for me to hurt you. And I'm going to hurt you a lot," said the god of destruction, holding Sindra's fist that was a few centimeters from his face. Sidra was scared because Big Mun managed to hold his fist. Big Mun concentrated some of his energy and shot an energy spear at Sindra's stomach, making him fly away. And when he was up there, the energy spear expanded, making Sidra scream in pain. The attack would not be strong enough to kill Sidra, but it still hurt a lot. Big Mun came out of his crater and wiped the corner of his mouth that was dirty with blood, and then disappeared and reappeared in front of Sidra, who was still falling. And when Sidra faced Big Mun's fist, he was already inches from his face. So in a quick thought, Sidra gathered all his energy to protect himself, but still Big Mun's blow made Sidra fly and destroy everything in the way. And thanks to the pressure of the attack, one of the glaciers ended up becoming water. And in the middle of another glacier far away from the place where the combat started was Sidra with a badly wounded face. Big Mun said, "Now do you understand? That's the difference between the past and the present. You are too weak to face me, and you will only be the first god of destruction to be slain at the hands of a true god of destruction," said the god of destruction, looking at Sidra, who was grinding his teeth because of the anger he was feeling at Big Mun, who had a big predatory smile on his face. In the Ninth Universe. Currently in the Ninth Universe, more precisely on a planet far away from the solar system, it was possible to see that Big Mun, the former god of destruction of the 13th Universe, and Sidra, the current god of destruction of the 9th Universe, were facing each other on a planet made of ice and snow. Sidra at that moment was very injured, and Big Mun was slightly injured. And the former god of destruction was only like that because he ended up receiving some blows to test Sidra's strength, which in Big Mun's opinion was ridiculous, and that strength shouldn't even be considered the strength of a god of destruction. Big Mun said, "Look, your previous strikes weren't that bad, but they are very easy to defend or dodge. And as I want to test your strength, I let you hurt me, but it seems that now I started to take this fight a little more seriously. You gave up. Don't tell me. Did you finally realize the difference in strength between not two, and you have already accepted your own death? That would make things a lot easier," asked the former god of destruction with an arrogant and mocking tone, as he looked at Sidra, who was getting up and leaving the place he had stopped after Big Mun's blow. Sidra said, "Of course not. I am the god of destruction of the 9th Universe, and as such I will not be killed by an ancient god of destruction who has returned from the netherworld to do some shit. You're not in your era, but in mine, so I'll show you the true power of Universe 9's god of destruction," shouted the god of destruction as she began to release a great wave of energy of destruction. Because of the great energy of destruction released by Sidra, the frozen planet where the combat was taking place began to be destroyed in a few seconds. But Amunet was faster, and using her power, the angel managed to create a kind of time loop that prevented the planet from being destroyed. Big Mun spoke. "That massive amount of power of destruction being released by Sidra, he's going to use his true form of the god of destruction. Amazing. This is what I always wanted to see. Let Sidra raise his power even more," shouted the ancient god of destruction, also releasing his power to try to match Sidra's power. The shocks of the power of both gods of destruction were causing cracks throughout the planet, but thanks to Amunet's power, the destruction generated was disappearing, because if it wasn't for Amunet's power, the planet would have been destroyed in time by the gigantic power that was being released from both gods of destruction at that moment. After a few long seconds releasing their power, Sidra and Big Mun stopped doing that, and soon it was possible to see Sidra with an appearance similar to that of Topol during the power tournament. Sidra's skin was darker on his chest, there was a symbol of destruction on his universe, and his aura was purely composed of the energy of destruction, and that form was Sidra's true god of destruction form. Big Mun, who was watching this, was very excited about the fight, but Big Mun was still in his base form. But the eyes of the ancient god of destruction glowed in an intense purple and black color, and around his body was his aura of destruction, similar to that of Sidra. Sidra, now at the height of his strength, simply disappeared and reappeared in front of Big Mun, who ended up dodging his opponent's blow. But Big Mun dodged at the last moment, and Sidra ended up hurting his cheek. But Big Mun didn't stay still. He tried to land a blow on his opponent. but Sidra was faster, and again disappeared and reappeared, landing a kick on Big Mun's head that threw him away. Big Mun was slightly stunned because of Sidra's blow, but he managed to recover quickly, and in doing so Big Mun released his power of destruction on the ground. And with that, several beings of ice and snow were created, and they all advanced against Sidra, who upon seeing those beings coming to him, remembered the beings that were invading all universes. Such beings had a power far above the normal warriors of each planet, but still they were too weak for a being like Sidra. Sidra started shooting several spheres of destruction at those soldiers, and it ended up destroying them. But soon some of them approached the god of destruction, who started to face the soldiers directly, and none of them could withstand a single blow from Sidra at that stage. And with this level of power, Sidra ended up receiving a punch from the bottom up, given by Big Mun, who had come out of the ice, surprising Sidra. But his surprise diminished when he ended up receiving another blow, only this time it had been a kick in the stomach, and that made Sidra be thrown away. Big Mun advanced against Sidra as if he were a beast, with the only objective being to kill Sidra, who ended up managing to recover from the two blows given by Big Mun. The ancient god of destruction advanced against Big Mun, and when they both met, they clashed their fists, generating a large impact wave that ended up creating a giant crater. Sidra and Big Mun started an exchange of blows, and each blow shock increased the crater that got bigger and bigger, and the old Big Mun soldiers had already been totally destroyed by the impact wave that ended up reaching all of them, destroying them completely. And the only being who really wasn't suffering anything from those shockwaves was Amanet, who was watching that combat, drinking something, and eating some kind of cookie. The exchange of blows between the two gods of destruction became more and more intense, and with that the crater became bigger, and even Amanet's reconstruction power was not able to keep up with the level of destruction that Sidra and Big Mun were creating. Big Mun was much faster than before, and his blows were even more accurate and strong, showing that he was improving every minute, and that was making Sidra scared because he wouldn't be able to maintain that form for a long time, and Big Mun knew it. Sidra said, "That's enough. This battle will end here and now," said the current god of destruction while looking at Big Mun. Sidra managed to perform a sequence of blows against Big Mun, and in the last blow Sidra kicked Big Mun very hard, making him go backwards. Big Mun crashed against the crater wall, and when he got up, Big Mun saw that Sidra had gathered a huge amount of energy, and Big Mun knew that would be Sindra's final ultimate attack, and with that Big Mun just smiled. Big Mun gathered all of his energy around his body, generating a defensive aura, and then advanced towards Sidra, who finally managed to finish gathering his power. Sidra spoke. "Big Mun, return to the world of the dead, along with your former fellow gods of destruction, and all those who existed in your extinct universe," said the current god of destruction of the 9th universe, before firing his attack. Big Mun said, "Come on, Sidra, use all your power and try to kill me," shouted the former god of destruction, with a big psychotic smile, as he looked at the large amount of destructive energy gathered by Sidra. Sidra with a roar fired his attack with full force in the direction of Big Mun, who instead of diverting concentrated his aura in his arm and placed it in front of his body, and soon Big Mun was hit by Sindra's blow. That blow generated an explosion so powerful that it ended up making the planet explode, and this time Amanet couldn't stop that, but the barrier created around himself and around the planet were still whole, and not even that attack was able to make a scratch on the barriers. Because of the attack and the destruction of the planet, a great light prevented Amanet from seeing the outcome of the combat. But after a few minutes, the angel was able to see things perfectly. And with that, she undid both barriers because Amanet knew that the battle was already over, and she was sure her master had not been defeated. Amanet knew her master very well. Amanet, after undoing the barriers, Anja began to float to go to the place where she was feeling Big Mun's energy. And as she approached, the angel saw that one of Big Mun's arms had been destroyed, and there had been several small particles of energy of destruction coming out of it, and there were several cracks with energy of destruction throughout the body of the former 13th universe god of destruction. Now the other arm of the former god of destruction was in Sindra's chest, and soon Big Mun made his power of destruction flow through his arm that was inside Sindra's chest. And little by little, the god of destruction of the 9th universe was disappearing. Big Mun said, "In the end, You weren't as weak as I thought, and you gave me a good battle, and for that I thank you. Now rest in peace, Sidra," said the god of destruction, looking at Sidra, who soon had his entire existence completely erased by the power of destruction of Big Mun. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, it was possible to see all the gods of destruction except the 9th universe god of destruction, Sidra, and his angel. All the other gods of destruction were gathered on the planet of the 7th universe god of destruction, and they were in a meeting to talk about Big Mun and what the gods of destruction should do to get him killed or sealed in a way that Big Mun disappeared forever, so that no one would ever bring him back to life. Helis said, "It looks like that ugly Sidra won't be coming to this meeting. I must say that Sidra is being more idiotic than I thought he would be," said the goddess of destruction of the 2nd universe while looking at the seat, which it should belong to the god of destruction of the 9th universe, who was, by the way, not present at the place, leaving some angry gods, mainly Ramon, the god of destruction of the 10th universe. Ramon said, "Sidra, you've always been very inconsequential, but this is already going too far. Doesn't Sidra understand what these meetings of ours are for? It's for us to discover best ways to act against the accursed Big Mun, which, by the way, must already be coming up with some strategy to kill us. After all, those creatures made of energy of destruction with elemental bodies were his work to destroy our universes and weaken us, and with that it'll be easier for Big Mun to kill us all," said the god of destruction of the 10th universe, angry with the inconsequential actions of his fellow god of destruction, Sidra, and at the same time, Ramon was very angry that Big Mun was destroying his universe, using those beings made of energy of destruction that belonged to him. Champa said, "It doesn't matter if Sidra is near or not. Maybe he's helping his warriors to destroy these creatures from the destruction of Big Mun. Now our goal is to figure out how to stop Big Mun. I hope that since our last meeting, and seeing everything that's been going on, each of you has found a way to kill the Big Mun, or at least seal it away in a definitive way. So if you have any suggestions, we would all like to know, so we can discuss about it," said the god of destruction of the 6th universe, who had now recovered from his battle against Big Mun, where Champa was not only killed because Big Mun didn't want it at the time. At that moment, all the gods of destruction began to speak at the same time, giving some information and suggestions, but most of the gods of destruction said to corner Big Mun and kill him, and that idea would not work at all. After all, Big Mun was a warrior with thousands of years of experience, and thanks to the ancient gods of destruction, he would not be caught in a trap or strategy, because Big Mun would not be so stupid as to fall into such a plan, and Beerus knew it very well. Beerus said, "This will not work. Any plan that is to attract Big Mun will fail. You see, we are all thousands of years old, and during that time we had to face several battles, but these battles are not even close to what Big Mun and the ancient gods of destruction had to face. And from what we can gather of the information about the ancient gods of destruction and their angels, the angels of the 13th universe called Amanet, who by the way is the angel of Big Mun, has the ability to create barriers millions of times bigger and better than all our other angels. And for the information that we got, Big Mun and the other 5 gods of destruction of the universes that were erased made competitions of strength between them. And as we all know, the gods of destruction are forbidden to do that, because if they did, they would end up destroying the universes. But thanks to Amanet's barrier, which is extremely strong, these gods of destruction faced each other without fear of what could happen. And believe me, the ancient gods of destruction did not hold back when facing each other," said the god of destruction of the 7th universe, leaving his colleagues shocked with this information. After all, if the ancient gods faced each other, then Big Mun should have a lot of fighting experience all the way to the death. Champa said, "Since that's the case, what do you suggest, Beerus? Because then we need a way to be able to kill or seal Big Mun in a definitive way. I had thought of using the Super Dragon Balls to seal it, but apparently they won't be able to be used for a long time, and we can't speed up the process. So do you have any ideas to solve our problem?" asked the god of destruction of the 6th universe, looking at his twin brother. Beerus said, "I do have a plan, brother. We can use Mafuba, which is a technique from a warrior in my world. This warrior used this technique during the Tournament of Power. Or we can also invoke Zenosama so that he erases Big Mun once and for all," said the god of destruction of the 7th universe, while looking at the other gods of destruction, who apparently liked the idea. Helis said, "It's a good idea, Beerus. Only at this point I would like to know why Big Mun is doing this. I think it's a little strange that he comes back from the dead and wants to kill us. After all, we aren't the ones who killed Big Mun. We weren't even alive at the time," said the goddess of destruction of the 2nd universe, looking at her companions, but soon the gods of destruction got the answer from the one they least expected. A mysterious voice said, "Maybe it's because I need to kill you in order to drain the energy of destruction from your bodies, so that I can recover my old strength faster. And with that, kill the one who really killed me, which is the Daishinkan, the High Priest. So don't take it personally, but I need to do this," said a voice coming from a dark corner. And when doing that, everyone looked in that direction of the voice, and someone saw Sidra coming out of the darkness. Vermont said, "Sidra! No, you're not Sidra. That guy over there is Big Mun. He must be using his appearance-altering technique. Wait, if you are here and not Sidra, where is the real Sidra?" asked the god of destruction of the 11th universe, as he looked at the false Sidra who just smiled. The false Sidra spoke. "It seems to me that you are more intelligent than I thought. You're right, god of destruction of the 11th universe. Sidra, the god of destruction of the 9th universe, is dead. And I must say it was fun fighting him," said the ancient god of destruction with his appearance similar to that of Sidra. The only difference was that there were some marks on his arm that could be the result of the previous battle against the true god Sidra. Beerus said, "Thank you for coming to us so we can kill you before you get stronger," said the god of destruction of the 7th universe, releasing his power and advancing against false Sidra, who raised his power and crossed his arms in front of his body to protect himself from the attack that ended up generating an explosion. Big Mun, who had returned to his original appearance, started a battle against Beerus, but soon all the other gods of destruction flew to help Beerus, and with that Big Mun began to receive attacks from several different directions, making him very injured. And as there were many attacks and everyone was very fast, the ancient god of destruction was not able to defend himself or reduce the damage received. Big Mun, after receiving thousands of blows from the other gods of destruction, who were very angry for having lost one of their companions, even though Sidra was not the most beloved, he was still the companion of the gods of destruction, and it was their duty to avenge Sidra. Big Mun, even taking thousands of hits from the other gods of destruction, he couldn't get the evil smile off his face. Beerus, along with the other gods of destruction, decided to make the final attack, and with that they all approached Big Mun. And at the same time, Big Mun released all his power of destruction, and that made him enter his true form of god of destruction, which caused a great wave of destruction energy that crashed into the gods of destruction and threw them away, leaving some gods bewildered because of the shock wave and also due to the intense light generated. Big Mun, in a quick movement, took advantage of the bewildered gods and advanced against Helis. Big Mun disappeared and reappeared on the back of the goddess of destruction of the 2nd universe, and with that Big Mun created a keyblade of destruction. Before Helis could recover, Big Mun pierced his chest and made an energy of destruction enter Helis's body, just as he had done with Sidra. Big Mun said, "There were 12 of them, and now there are only 10 more. You together are an impossible task for me right now, but I will get each one of you and I will kill you all. So get stronger, because I don't want to kill weak people. I want to fight to the death with you. It's just a pity I couldn't do that to the women, since I killed her. But I also wasn't in the mood to face a goddess of destruction who believes that love is the ultimate power. So whatever," spoke the ancient god of destruction, seeing Helis's body turn to ashes little by little. Helis said, Damned, said the goddess of destruction of the 2nd universe, before her body turned completely into ash and disappeared in particles of energy of destruction. Big Mun spoke. "Until our next meeting, gods of destruction," said the ancient god of destruction before entering a portal that closed in time to not receive an attack of destruction from Beerus, who growled in anger for having lost a companion because of Big Mun that almost claimed his brother's life before. In the 7th universe, Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely on the planet of the God of Destruction, it was possible to see all the gods of destruction except Sidra and Helis. Everyone was looking at a small handful of ashes that was on the floor of the planet. That handful of ashes was the very Helis who had recently been killed by Big Mun, who was on his quest to kill all the gods of destruction and their angels to get his revenge on the Daishinkan who had killed Big Mun thousands of years ago. All the gods of destruction and their angels who were present at that moment were sad to witness the death of their companion Helis, and some gods and angels were not only angry, but also furious, because all that could have been prevented if they cooperated with each other, and the one who was most angry was Beerus, because he could have killed Big Mun years ago, but he didn't, and because of that now there were two dead gods of destruction, and it could be Beerus' fault. Beerus thought, damn, I should have killed Big Mun the moment I saw him. But now because of me, Helis is dead, and so is Sidra, and now we only have 10 out of 12 gods of destruction. Thought the god of destruction of the 7th universe while looking at the handful of ashes and getting more and more enraged, making his aura get bigger and bigger. But Beerus wasn't the only one like that. Champa thought, if I was stronger, I could have prevented Big Mun from taking the last Super Dragon Spears. And if I had done that, I could have prevented the death of Helis and Sidra. This is my fault too. Thought the god of destruction of the 6th universe, angry and frustrated for being so weak and not having been able to stop Big Mun's advance before he could recover his strength. Vermont thought, if I hadn't been tricked by Big Mun before, I could have prevented him, so Big Mun wouldn't have renewed his strength, and not even managed to kill Helis and Sidra. That's my fault, and my lack of attention, thought Vermont as he clenched his own fists and looked at the handful of ashes that belonged to his former colleague, Goddess of Destruction. All the gods of destruction were feeling bad and guilty for not being able to stop Big Mun for killing Helis, and also for none of them being able to avenge Syndra's death. Which even though he wasn't the companion they liked the most, Sidra was still their companion and deserved to be avenged, and gathering all these thoughts and feelings, all the remaining gods of destruction ended up raising their power, generating a great impact wave that made the entire 7th universe tremble, and all the other universes also ended up feeling the energy of destruction that belonged to the Hakaishin. Now with Big Mun. Currently the former god of destruction, it was possible to see that he was just coming out of the portal that had been created by Amunet, and when he left, Big Mun ended up letting out a big smile of pure joy and animation. Amunet said, "It seemed that you were happy after you faced the gods of destruction, and from what I can feel, you managed to kill another god of destruction. And if you followed my advice, you must have killed the goddess of destruction of the 2nd universe, Helis." Amunet spoke while looking at her god of destruction, who remained with a smile on his face. Big Mun spoke. "I did just that, my dear angel. Helis, the goddess of destruction of the 2nd universe, is dead. And with her dead, there are already 2 of the 12 gods of destruction that I killed. And now I killed Helis, the goddess of destruction. The gods must be so high and very alert. And the greater their alertness, the greater the fear, and that fear will help me kill those bastards. After all, the gods of destruction are arrogant by nature, and if any of them see me, they will try to kill me out of revenge or out of fear. Because the more fear someone feels, the quieter they are. And that just makes things even more fun," Big Mun said while sketching an even bigger smile than before. Big Mun was going to say something else about fighting the gods of destruction, but the moment Big Mun opened his mouth, he and Amunet felt a great amount of energy that made the planet they were on tremble, and that energy belonged to the gods of destruction who were on the god of destruction's planet, and how they were all releasing their energies of destruction at the same time, it made Amunet and Big Mun startle. But it didn't take long for Big Mun to start laughing like a psychopath, and Amunet just sighed at it, because if the gods of destruction wanted to get Big Mun excited, they just got it. Big Mun spoke. "It seems those guys are more excited and full of rage. So much power unleashed at once. This is exciting. I wanted to wait a bit to attack those guys, but seeing that power, I can't help myself. I have to go after another god of destruction and kill him to piss off the other gods of destruction even more." Big Mun spoke excitedly while keeping his smile on his face, because now Big Mun was more excited than before. Amunet spoke. "And who will be the next god of destruction that you will defeat, Master?" Amunet asked after looking at his god of destruction, who calmed down a bit and stopped laughing. Big Mun said, "I'm going after Rumshi, the god of destruction of the 10th universe, and Mule, the god of destruction of the 3rd universe. I'm going to kill them because they are the weakest at the moment. Not only that, Now that the 2nd and 9th universes are weak without their gods of destruction, it'll be easier for my soldiers to dominate these universes. In reality, I don't want to dominate or weaken these universes anymore. I want them to be destroyed. This will be a new era, my era, and in it, everything will be new, including all the universes that currently exist. Big Mun spoke while closing his eyes and releasing a small amount of energy that entered inside the things that were nearby, and those things began to come to life. Amunet spoke. "Thy will be done, my master." Amunet spoke, hitting his staff on the ground, causing several portals to appear, and the new soldiers created by Big Mun entered the portals that soon closed. Big Mun said, "Amunet, I want you to send me to a planet in the 2nd universe, and then send Rumshi and Mule to that planet. I'll face both of them together. After all, I already faced Sidra alone, and then I killed Helis, who was having help from all the gods of destruction. So now I want to face 2 gods of destruction alone, preferably that both gods face me using their full power." Big Mun spoke while looking at his angel, who just listened to what he was talking. Amunet said, "Well, normally I would ask if you are sure you want to do this, but since you fought all the current gods of destruction together and still managed to come out alive, and with almost no injuries, you should be able to defeat these 2 gods of destruction in an easy way." Amunet spoke while looking at a god of destruction master who was stretching his own body. Big Mun said, "Defeating 2 gods of destruction with my current power level is easy, but only an idiot can guarantee himself in a fight without knowing what can happen, and even though I know that Rumshi and Mule are weaker than me, they may have a trick up their sleeve, and even a technique that can kill them, and kill me at the same time. Rumshi and Mule may end up playing the hero and dying to save everyone. So I want you to recover all my vitality, and just in case, could you give me one of those seeds of the gods you took from the planet Earth while I was fighting Sidra?" Big Mun said while looking at his angel, and then looking at his body and seeing that he had some injuries from when Big Mun faced the gods of destruction. Amunet said, "If that's what you want, then that's what you'll have, master." Amunet said before swinging his scepter and touching Big Mun's head, making him return to having his vitality at maximum, and now Big Mun was unharmed in any way. Big Mun said, "I feel much better now, Amunet. Let's go after my next targets, and after I kill Rumshi and Mule, I'll go after 3 more gods of destruction, and I will continue to kill the gods of destruction until I reach Beerus and Unchampa. I think Beerus will be really pissed off when I kill his brother. Even more when I do it in front of him. What will Beerus look like when I kill his dear brother right in front of him? I don't know, but I'm dying to find out." Big Mun spoke before giving a macabre smile while thinking about how to make Beerus reach the limit of his rage, which in Big Mun's view would yield a great battle to the death with Beerus. In the 2nd universe, on a planet that had a dry climate with a terrain made of sand with some reliefs and mountains of stones that had an orange and half-red tone, it was possible to see a being sitting on a kind of throne made of sand. The one that was sitting on it was Big Mun, who was in that place waiting for 2 new opponents to arrive, to be killed by the hands of the ancient god of destruction. But while Rumshi and Mule did not arrive, Big Mun was looking at all sides of the planet and remembering the time when Big Mun was not a god of destruction, and lived on a planet similar to the one he was on at the time. Big Mun thought, "Back when I was a simple mortal and lived my life as the king of my planet, things were simple. I ordered, and those who were wise obeyed, and those who did not obey me were killed by my hands. After all, a king like me needed to keep order in his kingdom, and those who didn't follow my orders could create a rebellion. So fear was my greatest weapon against all living beings. And because of that, my kingdom stayed at the top since the beginning of my reign. That is, of course, after having killed my father and all my brothers so that I could assume the throne," thought the former god of destruction as he looked at the landscape of the planet he was on and remembered of his past, a very distant past. Big Mun said, "Now that I'm thinking about it, at this time I had several women and children who over the years tried to kill me to take my position as king. If I remember correctly, I had to kill most of them, and the rest ended getting so scared that they ended up abandoning my kingdom, and as far as I know, they all died by the hands of my assassins. These women along with my children betrayed me, and I hate traitors, and they all must die. I would like to have killed them all to show the difference between a simple prince and a king like me. But anyway, they are all dead now," Big Mun said as he sat down in a more relaxed way on his throne of sand. Big Mun said, Maybe when this is all over, I'll use the power of the Super Dragon Balls to bring back all the mortals that my soldiers or I've killed over the years. And I'll end up going after some interesting women who could give me powerful heirs. And those who are really strong will win their own universes. Maybe Amanet is among these women, even though I don't know if she, being an angel, can bear children. But Amanet is loyal, so she deserves to receive all the luxury. Big Mun said while thinking of his angel, who was with him since the day he became a god of destruction. Amanet accompanied Big Mun on his journey until he became the most powerful god of destruction of his time, and currently he was also the strongest among the gods of destruction. Big Mun said, "Well, I better leave that aside for now. After all, I still have to kill the current gods of destruction and generate chaos in their universes. That shouldn't be so difficult. After all, I am the god of destruction any more strong from that time, and my soldiers must already be creating chaos in all universes. But apparently those in the 7th universe are having difficulty in destroying a planet called Earth. And on that planet apparently there are several powerful warriors. I already know I'm going to defeat the 2 gods of destruction that Amanet must be bringing, and then I'm going to go around this planet Earth. And at the same time, I'm going to deceive Beerus so that I can fight with those warriors, because according to my information, Beerus and Whis have a great bond with the inhabitants of that planet. And that planet must be the second home of Beerus and his angel." Big Mun spoke to himself thoughtfully. He was determined to face the mortals who live on this planet Earth that Beerus and Whis were so fond of. Big Mun, after concluding his thoughts, continued to look at the desert landscape of that planet, and seeing that his Anja was taking time, he was bored. Big Mun used his power to create several beings made of sand and energy of destruction, and in doing so, Big Mun began to fight with these beings as a means of warming up. After all, it might take a few minutes for the 2 gods of destruction to arrive at their location. As if Big Mun's wish had been fulfilled, 2 portals appeared in the middle of that place, and 2 gods of destruction came out of them, being Rumshi, the god of destruction of the 10th universe, who had the appearance of a pink elephant, and the other was Mule, the god of destruction of the 3rd universe, who had the appearance of a typical big and half-fat robot. Big Mun said, "Wow, you took so long. I thought Amanet had forgotten my orders, but she must have waited for the right moment to catch you too. After all, now you are more and more fearful, and it's kind of hard to deceive you when you're together. I don't want to warn everyone about who will be the next gods of destruction to be killed by my hands." Big Mun spoke while turning his sand soldiers back to just lifeless sand, and looked at the 2 gods of destruction in his front. Rumshi said, "Big Mun, you damn!" Rumshi spoke in an irritated tone while looking at Big Mun, who just yawned listening to that, because he was bored. Mule said, "You're very brave to kill the 2 of us and then bring 2 gods of destruction to an isolated planet. And I don't need to be smart to know that you did that to be able to face us and kill us. Right, Big Mun?" said a small being coming out of the robot. This being had a red skin and had 2 large horns in his head. This being was the true Mule, the god of destruction of the 3rd universe. Big Mun spoke. "At least one of you is smart enough to know what I thought of doing in bringing you to this planet. Well, let's get on with it, because I have to kill your other companions, and then the idiots who serve as your guide." Big Mun spoke before releasing his power, and then advancing against the 2 gods of destruction. Mule was the first to react, leaving close to his armor quickly and advancing against Big Mun, who tried to land a punch in his face. But Mule, being very small and fast, managed to dodge and hit a kick in the face of Big Mun, but his attack, there was no effect on the former god of destruction, who ended up countering with a slap with the back of his hand, making Mule move away, and that was good, because the moment Rumshi saw an opening, he fired a spear of destruction that ended hitting Big Mun, throwing him away and leaving a trail of destruction along the way. Mule, after recovering, stood next to Rumshi, and both faced the place where they felt Big Mun's energy. Suddenly, Rumshi and Mule got scared to see Big Mun just appear in front of them and hit a punch in Rumshi and a kick in Mule, causing both gods of destruction to go backwards. Big Mun in that short time realized who was the strongest between those 2, so he advanced against Rumshi because he was the weaker one between those 2 gods of destruction and had to be eliminated as soon as possible to make Big Mun's life easier. Big Mun at high speed advanced against the god of destruction with the appearance of an elephant and managed to land a kick in his chest, making Rumshi go against the ground, and with that a large amount of sand went flying to all sides, and before Rumshi could try to react, he felt his elephant trunk being held, and then Big Mun began to spin Rumshi's body at high speed, creating a tornado of sand. Mule, who was far away when he saw that, moved forward to try to help his companion, but when Mule realized he had to jump to avoid Rumshi, he had been thrown towards Mule. Mule, after dodging Rumshi, ended up receiving a kick given by Big Mun, who after hitting Mule, Big Mun ended up shooting several spheres of energy of destruction in the direction of Mule and Rumshi, who ended up not dodging the attacks in time. Rumshi was the first to recover, but when he got up, he realized that his arm had been disintegrated by Big Mun's attack, and his trunk had several injuries. Mule had purple marks on his body, and one of his horns had already been completely destroyed, and the other was missing a piece. Big Mun said, "Congratulations, you managed to survive. But it's time to kill you two at once. After all, I have some plans," Big Mun said before channeling his ki into his arm, and in a quick movement, he disappeared and reappeared behind both Gods of Destruction with his arm raised. Big Mun used his ki, and suddenly the head of both Gods of Destruction were severed from their bodies. And not only that, but all the mountains had been cut down, and all with a simple Big Mun arm swing that when swinging his arm, he released a wave of destruction energy that cut everything. Big Mun said, "With the death of these two, there are already 4 less. Now there are only 8 more Gods of Destruction. But before I have to go to planet Earth and play with the mortals that Beerus likes so much," Big Mun said with a triumphant smile on his face as he looked at Rumshi and Mule's bodies, turned to ash that soon disappeared because of the wind. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely on planet Earth, it was possible to see that the planet that once had a lot of life, peace, and harmony was now taken by deaths and a lot of destruction. And all this had been caused by Big Mun's soldiers, who followed the orders of their master, and Creator invaded all the universes and began to destroy the planets. But the soldiers ended up being trapped on planet Earth because of the powerful warriors that were in the universe. The Z warriors were defending the planet at all costs against the soldiers of Big Mun that seemed to have no end. Currently in the Capsule Corporation, it was possible to see that most of the Z warriors gathered, but there were those who were not present in the place, because they were protecting planet Earth or some other planet like Piccolo, who was on Namek, sending help to members of his race to defend themselves from the onslaught of those beings created by Big Mun, whose only objective was to destroy and kill everyone, thus creating chaos in the universe, and this chaos was happening in all 12 universes simultaneously. Bulma spoke. "It seems that cities to the north were destroyed by Big Mun's soldiers, and the cities to the east are partially destroyed. The worst wasn't even the destruction, but the number of people who ended up dying by the hands of those beings," said the woman with a sad tone, because more humans had been killed by Big Mun's soldiers. Yamcha said, "This is all my fault. I was responsible for protecting these cities at the time of the attack, and I failed. So it's my fault that all these people died," said the human at the back of the room with several bandages around his body, showing that he was well injured for having faced Big Mun's soldiers. Krillin said, "It's not your fault, Yamcha, it's mine. I was supposed to be there to help you, but I ended up leaving my duty as a Z warrior aside to remain with my duty as a police officer. If I had ignored the call to go help you guys, these people might not be dead." Krillin spoke with sadness and anger of his own actions and lack of commitment as a Z fighter. Gohan said, "This isn't any of your 2 faults. Maybe you didn't do your best to protect everyone, but you still tried, and you're still alive. So consider it a victory, because Big Mun's soldiers are boring to face, and in a few months we will use the power of the Dragon Balls to bring all those who were killed back to life," said the oldest son of Son Goku, who, looking at his human friends and allies, Vegeta said, "You're wrong, Goku," said the Prince of Saiyans, attracting all the attention to himself. Vegeta spoke. "Do you think that because they were killed, they will be able to return the power of Shenlong? But not everyone will come back to life. Only those who did not die by the hands of Big Mun's soldiers will return. Those who were killed by Big Mun's soldiers had their existence erased, and Shenlong has no power to bring these people back to life," said the Prince of Saiyans while looking at everyone, and those who still didn't know about it widened their eyes. After all, the greatest hope of doing that Earth to return to normal was the Dragon Balls, and Shenlong's wish fulfillment power. Goku spoke. "The power that Shenlong possesses is not strong enough to bring erased existences back to life. After the Gods of Destruction defeated Big Mun, Mr. Beerus said that he would go after the Super Dragon Balls to make a wish and bring back to life all those who were killed because of Big Mun or his soldiers. So don't need to worry," said the Saiyan, making his presence in the room known to everyone who hadn't noticed that Goku was in the room. Bulma said, "When did you arrive, Goku? Because I don't remember you were here 1 minute ago," Bulma asked, looking at her Saiyan childhood friend. who had a part of his clothes destroyed, which showed that he had entered some combat recently. Goku said, "I just arrived. I went to see if Chi-Chi was okay and if she needed anything. But when I got there, I found some of Big Mun's soldiers, so I ended up getting into a fight with them and I only managed to end the fight now," Goku said while swinging an arm to relieve his muscles. Gohan said, "Are Mom and Goten okay?" Gohan asked, worried about his mother and younger brother. Goku said, "Yes. Before I arrived, Goten was facing Big Mun's soldiers, and it was surprising to see him fight. But the most surprising thing was to see that Goten was transformed into Super Saiyan 3. Goku said, remembering his youngest son using the Super Saiyan 3 form, something that only Goku and the fusion of Goten and Trunks possessed until that moment. Vegeta spoke. "So, the ki explosion I felt earlier must have come from your son, Kakarot." Vegeta spoke as he remembered that he had felt a sudden amount of ki increase earlier, but Vegeta ignored it because he thought it was one of the soldiers of Big Mun, with a power greater than normal. Goku said, "Yeah, it was probably him. Goten managed to hold out long enough for me to arrive, and after I defeated all the Big Mun soldiers, I took Goten and Chi-Chi to Mr. Satan for them to stay there. And since Majin Buu was there, Goten and Chi-Chi will probably be safe," Goku said while looking at all those who were watching him. Suddenly, all those who possessed a power that was equal to that of a deity felt a tremendous power over their heads, and those who could not feel the divine power ended up feeling an enormous pressure on their bodies, and the most affected was Bulma, who did not was a warrior, and because of that she ended up passing out. But luckily Vegeta was quick and caught Bulma before she could fall to the ground. Goku, feeling that power, brought one of his hands to his forehead and prepared to use his teleportation. Vegeta and Gohan approached Goku and grabbed his shoulder, and then the three Saiyans disappeared from that spot and reappeared in the sky. Big Mun spoke. "It seems that even among the mud there are shining diamonds. I didn't think I would find such strong warriors on this planet. Now it makes sense that Beerus and Whis like this planet," said the God of Destruction, while looking at the three Saiyans present in the place, that as soon as they heard those words, they knew who the being in front of them was. Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan transformed into their most powerful forms. Goku activated the power of Ultra Instinct. Vegeta activated the power of Ultra Ego, and Gohan transformed into his bestial form, which was his strongest state until that moment. The three Saiyans advanced at high speed against Big Mun, who just smiled and advanced against the Saiyans. Gohan was the fastest among them. When approaching Big Mun, Gohan hit a knee in the face of the God of Destruction, causing him to be sent away, and then Goku along with Vegeta appeared and hit a double punch in the stomach of the God of Destruction that ended up being thrown against a mountain that was destroyed in the process. Big Mun felt those blows. He was happy because three mortals together were cheering him up more than two gods of destruction. Big Mun simply appeared in the middle of Goku and Vegeta, trapping both of them with his hands, and then Big Mun, turning his body, managed to create a tornado, and when he released both Saiyans, they hit the ground. When Gohan saw that, he advanced against Big Mun, and both started a hand-to-hand fight where Big Mun dominated from the beginning. Big Mun defended himself from a Saiyan blow and then hit a punch into Gohan's stomach, making him feel his bones breaking and the air leaving his lungs. Big Mun, seeing that Gohan was vulnerable, created a sphere of destruction that swallowed Gohan's body completely. And the moment it was released, Gohan's body was evaporated along with the entire continent that was behind Gohan. When Goku felt his son's energy disappear, he went into such a furious state that he ended up ignoring Vegeta's comments saying that Big Mun was too strong, and they would need the fusion to have a chance of beating Big Mun. Goku in his fury state advanced against Big Mun, and gathering all his strength, the Saiyan hit a punch in Big Mun, thus generating a gigantic impact wave that made the entire planet a state of great destruction. When Vegeta managed to see Goku, the Saiyan had his chest ripped open, thanks to Big Mun, who had his whole body imbued with the power of destruction. That was Big Mun's God of Destruction form. Vegeta's eyes widened when he saw his rival's death. And then, Vegeta felt a pain in his chest, and when he looked back, Big Mun had a blade pierce through Vegeta's chest. Big Mun spoke. "You were strong, and that I have to admit. When it's all over, I will bring you back to life and give you the peace you deserve. And you will be one of the new gods of destruction. You will be loyal to me. We'll see each other again. Until then, enjoy your Saiyan rest. Better, God of Destruction," Big Mun said before flying away from the place, leaving only a star made of destruction that the moment it fell to Earth began to disintegrate the entire planet and the living beings that existed on it. Days later, A few days had passed since the day Big Mun destroyed planet Earth and killed the most powerful mortals in the 7th universe, something that made Beerus extremely angry, and with that the god of destruction began to hunt Big Mun. Using all the resources he had, but Big Mun always escaped because he didn't want to face Beerus, not out of fear, but because Big Mun wanted to make Beerus the last god of destruction to be killed by his hands. Big Mun didn't just want to kill Beerus, he also wanted to make him desperate, and with that get lost in his own fury. Big Mun knew that any being taken by rage became stronger, and that was exactly what he wanted. Big Mun wanted Beerus enraged, and this fury would make Beerus possess even greater strength than Beerus had at the moment, and that would make the battle even better than Big Mun was expecting. After all, what he wanted most was a truly exciting battle, and Beerus would give it to him. But Beerus didn't know Big Mun's true goal, but Universe 7's God of Destruction would find out. After the destruction of planet Earth along with its main warriors, Big Mun had the idea of going after the most powerful mortals of each universe, and facing them to find out who should be part of the elite warriors that Big Mun would create after defeating Daishinkan, and complete his revenge, and with that take control of the current 12 universes and bring the other 6 universes back. As they were before they were destroyed by Zeno, who only did that because Daishinkan had told him to do it for Big Mun. Zeno was the weapon supreme of Daishinkan, because whether or not Zeno did everything he wanted, claiming it was the right thing to do. Big Mun, as planned, began to invade all universes, focusing on planets where his soldiers were being defeated. And with that, Big Mun ended up finding mortals as surprising as Son Goku, Vegeta, and Son Gohan. But the former god of destruction was very surprised to discover that in the 7th universe there were other powerful mortals. What surprised Big Mun the most was a mortal called Granola, who was of the Tuffle species, and another mortal called Brawly, who was a Saiyan just like Goku and Vegeta. But among the combatants against mortals that Big Mun had, the one he liked least was with a Frieza, who thought he was the emperor of the universe and at all times acted with arrogance. Big Mun was sure that Frieza, even being strong when Big Mun brought the universes back together with living beings, he would kill Frieza again just for fun. Big Mun, when exploring the universes in search of the mortals that would be part of his elite group in the future, he ended up finding interesting individuals like the most famous and lethal assassin of the 6th universe, Hit, and a young Saiyan who, despite being weak, had an enviable potential. This Saiyan was called K. In addition to these beings, there were other mortals who attracted the former god of destruction, but the one who managed to attract as much attention as the Saiyans of the 7th universe was a mortal named Jiren, who possessed power as great as that of a god of destruction, and that was something that Big Mun didn't know whether to find impressive or disappointing, that a mortal could match a god of destruction. After Big Mun traveled between universes defeating the strongest mortals and analyzing each one of them to know which ones should be brought back to his elite warriors, he decided to continue his plan to defeat the gods of destruction. But Big Mun was surprised to discover that there was an angel behind him, and when they met, that angel advanced at high speed and hit Big Mun with a punch that was strong enough to make the god of destruction leave the planet he was on. And all that was just one punch from the angels. That angel was Sour, the angel responsible for the 2nd universe that previously had Helis as its goddess of destruction. But Big Mun had killed Helis, and his angel now wanted revenge, something that surprised the god of destruction. Big Mun knew very well that angels were under a kind of law that prevented them from fighting or directly interfering in the lives of other beings. So seeing an angel being dominated by anger and the desire to take revenge was something very interesting and unexpected. Big Mun knew very well that the power of an angel was completely different from the power of a god of destruction. So Big Mun activated his true form of god of destruction, and thus the combat between these two began, and Sour proved to be superior since the beginning of the fight. But Big Mun throughout the battle irritated and provoked the angel, who became more and more angry. And due to anger, the angel lost control over his own actions, and using that as a breach, Big Mun managed to hit a strong blow enough to leave Sour bewildered. And soon afterwards, the god of destruction hit a blast of energy of destruction at close range, making the angel go far away. And then Big Mun disappeared from the place. After all, it was not yet time to face an angel like Sour. Not yet, at least. After running away from Sour, Big Mun realized that it was time to continue his plan. So he started to hunt all the gods of destruction, little by little, and over time they fell. Until, after a few weeks, 10 of the 12 gods of destruction had already been killed, and now only Beerus and Champa were missing. Beerus remained in his search, trying to find out where Big Mun was, so he could kill him, with his own hands. And that had been an order from the Daishinkan himself, who knew what was happening and gave the orders to his sons to kill Big Mun, in case he tried to kill any of them. so much so that Saga was not punished for his revenge-driven actions. But Daishinkan hadn't meddled in that matter yet because he couldn't. Daishinkan didn't know why exactly, but he knew that his daughter Aminet had a very surprising ability to manipulate space-time, and he knew that her power was greater than his, of him in that aspect, and because of that, Daishinkan couldn't interfere, because somehow Aminet had separated the dimension where Zeno lived from the rest of the universe, and because of that, Daishinkan couldn't help his children. He could only wait for Zeno's bodyguards to restore the union of the dimension with the other 12 universes. In the 6th universe. Currently in the 6th universe, it was possible to see a pillar of energy arising in the center of the planet of the god of destruction of that universe. From within the pillar, Beerus and Whis emerged. Both had been called to that world by Beerus' twin brother. Beerus said, "I hope Champa called me for something really serious. After all, I'm almost managing to find the whereabouts of Big Mun. And with that, you and I are going to finish him off once and for all, Whis. Now that the High Priest has given permission for the angels to face Big Mun, we can kill him without any worries." Beerus spoke with a serious expression on his face as he looked at his angel. Whis said, "That's a strange feeling. I usually feel my sister's power when I arrive on Universe 6's God of Destruction's planet, or at least feel the power and presence of Mr. Champa, but I'm not feeling anything. In fact, I even feel Mr. Champa's power, but that power is very weak right now." Whis spoke as he took one of his hands to his chin and looked everywhere, and the other thing he heard was the deepest silence and lull. Beerus said, "True. Most of the times we came to visit my brother, he was already here waiting for us, or Vados was waiting to take us to my brother. But this time the planet is silent. Too silent," Beerus said, finding the silence of the planet strange. It didn't take long for an explosion to happen, making Beerus and Whis look at the direction of the explosion and fearing the worst. Beerus flew to the place accompanied by Whis. Upon arriving at the place, Beerus and Whis saw something they didn't expect to see in their lifetime. Big Mun was sitting on a kind of throne, and Champa, who had several wounds and holes in his body, was on Big Mun's feet. And next to Big Mun was Aminet standing with his scepter in one of his hands, and in the other the angel was holding Vados by the hair. The angel of the 6th universe was already dead. Big Mun said, "You two took your time. Now, brothers, this will be the beginning of the end." Big Mun spoke as he stood up and faced Beerus, who had an expression of intense anger, while his aura of destruction surrounded his body. Aminet said, "Don't get me wrong, brother, but I had to kill our sister so she wouldn't kill my master. And as I know you will also try to kill my master, I have to kill you too. I want you to know that this is not personal." Aminet spoke while letting go of Vados' hair, who ended up hitting her head on the ground. Whis at that moment was releasing an intense aura that was the same aura as Ultra Instinct. In Universe 6. Currently in the 6th universe, more precisely on the planet of the God of Destruction, it was possible to see Big Mun and the angel Aminet facing Beerus and Whis, who were releasing a large amount of energy. And all that because Big Mun and Aminet had killed the current God of Destruction of that universe and its angel. But it was not Big Mun who killed the angel Vados, but Aminet, who was Vados' sister. But that did not stop Aminet from killing Vados without the slightest mercy. Vados wanted to stop Aminet from killing Champa, but that's why Aminet had to kill Vados, because to her all 12 angels of those universes were not her brothers and sisters. So Vados was nothing more than an obstacle to Big Mun's wishes. Everyone in the place was looking at each other, waiting for each other's first move. But unlike Beerus and Whis, who were releasing their aura, Big Mun and Aminet were with a relaxed posture, as if the fight that was going to happen between them was nothing, and it wouldn't even be worth their effort. And that irritated Beerus. But what irritated the 7th universe God of Destruction the most was the smile that Big Mun had plastered on his face. But soon, Big Mun's expression changed as he lifted his foot and felt that Champa was still under his feet. And seeing that, the God of Destruction Big Mun thought of a way to piss off Beerus even more. Big Mun said, I think this belongs to you, Beerus. After all, I don't want to be with this useless. So take advantage of your brother, still having a physical body thanks to Aminet. Big Mun said before kicking Champa's body towards Beerus, who ended up catching his brother's body in his arms. Beerus, seeing his dead brother's body in his arms, thought of asking Whis to bring his brother back to life, but suddenly Champa's body began to disintegrate, and in a few minutes, he ended up becoming particles of energy of destruction. And at that moment, Beerus widened his eyes before letting out a scream that was more like a roar. Beerus' aura increased to a level that surprised Whis and made Big Mun extremely excited, as Beerus showed to have great power than Big Mun was expecting. But that wasn't the most surprising thing. Big Mun was surprised when Beerus, in a state of pure rage, ended up activating his form of God of Destruction, causing his aura to increase so much that it ended up destroying the entire planet of the God of Destruction and several places that were light years from where Beerus and Big Mun were. After that huge explosion that destroyed everything that was close to Beerus, and light years from the place in which billions of species were surely extinct because of the explosion, everyone could see that Beerus now had an aura of destruction around his body, which caused Beerus to have darker skin than normal, and on his chest was a symbol of the destruction of the 7th universe. Big Mun said, "This power, yes, that's it. That's what I wanted to see. Beerus, come and show me the power of the strongest god of destruction of this era, and give me a real battle." Big Mun spoke very excitedly. Suddenly he received a punch so strong that it made Big Mun feel a great pain in his face, and because of the blow, he ended up being launched kilometers away from that location. Big Mun was happy after receiving that blow because that was all he ever wanted. Big Mun recovered quickly and activated his God of Destruction form, and then advanced against Beerus, who did the same thing. And when both gods of destruction approached, they exchanged the first blow, which generated an explosion so large that it could be equal to that of the Big Bang itself, but in a reduced version. Aminet and Whis, who were away from their gods of destruction, also started their confrontation with Whis, advancing against his sister, who ended up defending all of his blows with great mastery. Whis saw that his sister had a very sharp vision to the point of dodging his blows, so Whis walked away, and then fired a spear of energy that ended up turning into thousands of spears of ki. Not seeing that, Aminet just waited, and when she saw the spears very close to her, Aminet snapped her fingers, making her and Whis switch places. Now it was Whis who would receive those blows fired by himself. Whis didn't have time to leave the place, so he ended up having to defend himself using his own body, and because of his own attack, Whis ended up getting serious injuries. Whis, after receiving the attack, thought about reacting or planning a way to defeat Aminet, but she was faster and appeared on Whis' back, and then put one of her hands on his back. And when Whis noticed a dome of energy surrounding him, and suddenly several currents of energy came out of complete nothingness and began to imprison every part of his body, such as his legs, his arms, his abdomen, his neck, and they prevented him from moving and using his powers. Aminet said, "I would kill you, but the Master wants to face all the angels too, and I don't want to make the Master angry or sad, so I'll just seal you away for now. But soon I will release you. My Master will kill you in no time. So until then, stay quiet and wait for your time of death." Aminet spoke while looking at Whis, who was going to try to say something, when new chains appeared and trapped his mouth, preventing him from speaking. Going back to the battle between Big Mun and Beerus, it was possible to see that both were facing each other at a frantic pace, and with each punch they gave each other, an explosion was generated. And with each explosion, thousands of planets were destroyed, and with that billions of races and lives disappeared. In the battle, Beerus surprised Big Mun, showing that he was more powerful than Big Mun himself, which made him excited, because it had been thousands of years since Big Mun had not fought seriously. Suddenly, the course of the battle changed when a silver aura appeared around Big Mun, making him dodge thousands of blows from Beerus that were so fast that they surpassed several times the speed of light. And that silver aura was the power of Ultra Instinct that Big Mun finally ended up activating to defeat Beerus. Big Mun activated the power of Ultra Instinct, and with that dodged all of Beerus' blows. Big Mun in a short period of time landed billions of blows on Beerus, showing that if Beerus surpassed the speed of light several times, Big Mun surpassed the speed of light in trillions of times. And with that, Beerus didn't have time to react, when Big Mun ended up sticking his hand in the center of Beerus' chest. Big Mun spoke. "Thank you for the amazing fight, but now I need to say goodbye." Big Mun spoke before generating an explosion inside Beerus' chest that ended up killing him. And along with him, half of the 7th universe disappeared and the rest collapsed. With the fall of Beerus, all the gods of destruction ended up dead, and after that battle, Big Mun ended up entering a kinda coma. And Aminet, seeing this, took her master to another dimension, and in that Amunet performed a ritual using 12 spheres of destruction. That meant the god of destruction that Big Mun had killed, and using that ritual, Amunet ended up making Big Mun drain the power of all those gods of destruction. And after weeks, Big Mun woke up more powerful than ever, and Big Mun started the last phase of his plan, which was to kill all the angels and then Daishinkan. And his first target was Whis, who even managed to hurt Big Mun, making him gain a scar on his chest. But Whis ended up being defeated and killed by Big Mun, who then absorbed the power of Whis. And after that, Big Mun hunted each of the angels, killing each of them one by one, in different, brutal, and merciless ways. After the death of all the angels, Big Mun went after Daishinkan and faced the High Priest. But the Daishinkan could not find out that Big Mun he was facing was a clone, and that the real one was going after Zeno. Big Mun managed to kill Zeno, because even though he was the most powerful being in all the universes, Zeno was not a warrior. Zeno only had raw power, and Big Mun was a warrior. So it was easy for him to kill Zeno, and by killing him, Big Mun ended up taking the power of Zeno, temporarily creating an attack that the Daishinkan couldn't survive. And he really couldn't, and thus Big Mun fulfilled his objective, which was to kill the Daishinkan. Billions of years have passed since the time of Zeno, and after that time, Big Mun ended up becoming the most powerful being in existence. And using the super spheres, he brought all universes back to normal. And with that, Big Mun recruited the most powerful mortals, and ended up turning them into gods of destruction who were trained by the gods of destruction at the time of Big Mun. And that was the new world created by Big Mun, the supreme god of destruction. With that, we'll end the story of Big Mun becoming the biggest villain in the Dragon Ball Super history. Tell me, did you expect this ending? Want to see a more possible continuation of the story? Comment and let us know so we can get started with the continuation. Don't forget to like the video, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We'll see you another day.